SOS.
Good evening. Welcome to the Orange County Board of Commissioners regular meeting, June 6th, here at the Pollock Whitted Building. It's good to see everybody. There are some additional items at everybody's place tonight. There's a draft resolution about climate change from Commissioner Rich. There's a short PowerPoint on item 6A, which is the Water and Sewer Management Planning and Boundary Agreement. There's the monthly update from the Planning Board. And there is also a spreadsheet of the so far proposed budget amendments, which this is for discussion purposes only. This is just folks that things have suggested. So, and then there is also a revised item 11F, which is the Parks and Recreation appointments. My seat has been novelty adjusted low, and I feel like I'm at the kids' table here.
I'll switch with you. I got a high one.
Oh, here we go. Yes. I should make it super high, you know.
Yeah.
Sit up here. Okay. Well, are there any additions or changes to the agenda? I have one that I'd like to suggest. We have a resolution on our agenda honoring Judicial District 15B Orange Chatham Public Defender James Williams, who is here tonight. And we also have a lot of people signed up for public comment, and I had promised James and his allies that they would be near the top of the agenda. So I'd like to move that to the top, if that's amenable to the board.
Fine with me. That's great.
All right?
Let's do it.
So then we'll get right to that, and then we'll move on to the public comment. So this board will, Mr. Williams, if you'd come up, please, to the podium, and anybody who's here with James or colleagues, friends, supporters, come up and stand, please. This is a momentous occasion. The board's going to consider a resolution honoring James E. Williams, Jr. for his service as the public defender for Judicial District 15B, Orange and Chatham counties, for 27 years, and if approved, authorize me as the chair to sign. And it is my very great honor to read this resolution, and I will make this in the form of a motion. So I move that we adopt the following. Resolution honoring Judicial District 15B Orange Chatham Public Defender James E. Williams, Jr. Whereas James E. Williams, Jr. served as the Public Defender of North Carolina Judicial District 15B, serving Orange and Chatham counties for 27 years, and whereas during his tenure, Mr. Williams led the development of innovative efforts to make the criminal justice system more equitable, including the Misdemeanor Diversion Program, the Public Defender Committee on Race and Equity, the Criminal Justice Resource Office, the North Carolina Commission on Racial and Ethnic Disparities, and the District 15B Racial Justice Task Force. And whereas Mr. Williams consistently challenged racial and socioeconomic disparities in the criminal justice system in North Carolina, including racial bias in policing, unfair public housing admission provisions, high court costs and fees for indigent clients, inequitable pretrial release and bail policies, institutional barriers to re-entry for formerly incarcerated persons, and police practices that target low-level crimes. And whereas James dedicated his career to working with other lawyers, judges, law enforcement officers, elected officials, and the community to address those disparities through efforts to bring transparency to policing decisions and judicial practices, promote body-worn cameras for law enforcement officers, and policies regarding broader access to police videos, and by leading public education initiatives and engage community dialogue around racial bias in the criminal justice system. And whereas James undertook these efforts while also tirelessly and zealously representing his clients, including defendants in some of the most high-profile and controversial cases in our community, all of which were resolved without death penalty verdicts. and in ways that help the community begin to heal. And whereas Mr. Williams is a fearless advocate who cares deeply about the indigent clients that the Office of the Public Defender represents and is dedicated to investigating every fact, developing compelling mitigation, retaining high-quality experts, and filing every motion so that his clients receive the highest quality legal representation, as well as providing guidance, inspiration, and mentorship to those around him. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Orange County Board of Commissioners does hereby extend to James E. Williams, Jr. our sincere and steadfast appreciation for his dedicated service to the Office of the Public Defender and to the residents of Orange County, for helping our community be a more just and equitable place, and for embodying the words of Thurgood Marshall, who said, "You do what you think is right, and let the law catch up." This, the 6th day of June, 2017.
Second.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, James. I'm going to bring this down. And then please accept the thanks of all the commissioners.
Well, I know you all have a busy agenda, so I'll be brief. First of all, I want to thank Chairman Dorison and the Orange County Board of Commissioners for this beautiful acknowledgement. You know, one of the things that in these efforts, I have been fortunate in a lot of this work to make these arguments before a commission that has been willing to listen and to hear. And this commission should be proud of some of the groundbreaking and trend-setting work that you are doing in the area of criminal justice reform and racial equity, and doing it in a way that will make this community both safer and more fair and more in tune with the democratic values that we all hold dear. I got started in this effort from a systemic reform standpoint. There was a case right here in Orange County in which I was trying a young man charged with murder. He was a young black man. And we went to choose a jury, and the jury veneer, out of 100 or so people, there were only 3 African Americans. And so I was concerned about the constitutional right to choose a jury from a fair cross-section of the community. And I began looking at that, and that took me to some other places and to some other areas. I couldn't really get traction on how to get a fix on that. But at some point, we did, when I say we, I mean our 15B Judicial District Committee worked with and partnered with the School of Government to do a study, the first of its kind in the state of North Carolina, of jury formation process within District 15B, which is Orange and Chatham counties. And I mention that to say that just earlier this year, the first stage of that report was published. And Allison Grine, who's here with me, was a professor at the School of Government at that time and was instrumental in helping to get that effort underway. Now, I mentioned that the first phase of the study has been completed. And I think I submitted it to, I don't know whether you all had a chance to read it yet, but to the commissioners maybe this morning. But I'm mentioning it now is because in order for it to have value, in order for it to help us address the issue properly of the lack of diversity in our jury pools, there needs to be a second phase of the study. And so you gave me the mic. I've got a small ask. And the small ask is this, is that you communicate to our criminal justice stakeholders, our judges and our prosecutors and our clerks of court, that you want to see the second phase of that study completed. Because just having the first phase is like having the left shoe and not the right shoe. You've got to have both to make a pair that you can use to make the reforms that will make this a better system. So, and I'm not saying that they are, or suggesting that they are opposed to it, but sometimes a little nudging can go a long way. So let them know that you support the second phase of this study being done. So that is my small ask, and thank you so much for this wonderful award. I appreciate it.
Thank you, James. Please, James, come on up and just get everybody's thanks.
I love a good advocate. He takes every opportunity.
Thank you.
All right, well, it's a, thank you for that, and it is a special moment. 27 years is it's been a true dedicated commitment to the community, which we appreciate. We're going to go back now to the agenda as written, and so the next item is the public comments. As most folks know, the public comments are divided into two parts. Matters that are not on the printed agenda, we have those public comments at the beginning of the meeting. And for folks who want to comment on an item that is on the printed agenda, we will receive those comments when we get to that item on the agenda. So if you are here and you want to comment and you haven't had a chance and you haven't signed up yet, the sign-up sheets are at the table by the door. So we will begin again now with matters that are not on the printed agenda. And we have several folks sign up to speak, and so we'll start with Dr. Todd Wirt.
Good evening, Chair Dorson, Vice Chair Rich, members of the board, Manager Hammersley. Tonight I stand before you to speak to you regarding Orange County Schools' budget request for the 2017-2018 school year. At the onset of this budget process, we were asked to foster a more collaborative budget process, and I believe that we have in fact done that. At every opportunity, we have provided you updates and shown you the due diligence we have done as a system to continue to adjust our request of the county for local funding. In April, the Orange County Board of Education approved a budget request that would require an additional $405 per student in local funding to continue services at the current level. That request was forwarded to the Orange County manager, who subsequently publishes the manager's recommended budget for consideration by the Board of County Commissioners. The county manager's budget, upon which you now deliberate, included a $123 increase per pupil. Because the state budget is not set when the county requires local budgets from school districts to be submitted, certain assumptions must be made regarding the outcome of the state budget. Both the House and Senate budgets have now released their budgets at the same overall spending amount, and it appears funding will move forward substantially as proposed, thereby allowing us to realign our budget request more confidently with the anticipated state revenue. Based on this realignment, the funding needed for Orange County Schools' continuation budget can now be modified to a total increase of $257 per pupil. The Board of County Commissioners would need to add $134 per student to the manager's per pupil recommendation to fully fund Orange County Schools' modified request. Our updated request of an increase of $257 per pupil includes continuation needs of state-mandated raises, as well as retirement and benefit increases, the continuation of the supplement increase that we put in place for all employees last year with your help, 3.5 additional positions to meet the class size requirements, funding for charter students at a projected number of 711 students, and it includes, at this point, 0 expansion items in our budget. I fully understand that you have to balance the needs of 2 school systems along with the entire county. I also believe that, as you have previously stated, that you will in fact do your best. However, right now we have no indication of what that will be. If the Board of County Commissioners does not provide the requested $257 per pupil increase, the Board of Ed would need to make cuts in their budget to accommodate the shortfall. Those cuts could include discontinuing travel and training for professional development of teachers and staff, furloughing 12-month employees for 1 day a month, eliminate locally funded teacher assistants except those in exceptional children's classes, and significantly reduce or eliminate athletic supplements, eliminate middle school after school, eliminate the universal breakfast program in elementary schools, and significantly reduce or eliminate offerings in some programs. I'll finish with this. The current county budget leaves a shortfall of approximately $1.1 million to fund Orange County Schools' revised request. I believe that our ask is responsible and that we've been open in every step of the process. Tonight, I ask that you continue to do your best and fund us at the requested $257 per pupil so that we can meet the demands of the state, hold true to the valued supplement increase that you helped us do last year, and avoid the aforementioned cuts to our system. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Julia Workman.
Good evening. I'm Julia Workman. I've been a teacher here in Orange County Schools since 1987, first at Cameron Park, and since 1999 at Hillsborough Elementary School. First, I'd like to thank you for the funding that you provided last year that allowed us to have a supplement for our teachers. I feel like you've always supported Orange County Schools, even when the state did not, and that has allowed us to be competitive and recruit and retain quality staff. I love our new slogan, Orange County First. A few years ago, I was on a church committee, and we were discussing the budget, and the treasurer and I finally decided that we needed to take the budget and divide it in half and figure out what was the core and what was discretionary. The core being the things that we needed to run our church, pay our staff, keep the lights on, and the discretionary being all the other cool things that we would like to do. I believe that Dr. Wirt and his cabinet and the school board are asking you for the core. With due diligence and hard work, they have cut their ask from the $400 mark down to the $257. They're only asking, from what I understand, for state mandated items and for keeping that supplement. There are no program expansion or extra things. I also believe that Dr. Wirt and the staff here in Orange County are using our resources that we have at hand in the most efficient way possible. The central office staff has people who wear multiple hats. You might be the director of the AIG program and the EC program, as well as coordinate and organize summer academic camps. I also believe that our county is, we've got a good solid county, but there's nothing fluffy here. I know some of these maintenance guys better than I know my husband. I know which ones can get the baby squirrels out of the ceiling tiles. I know which ones like chocolate, and I know which ones will not come in my room because of the tarantula. So, if you're unable to fund us at our core, then we would need to cut some fundamental elements which diminishes the quality of the services that we provide to our students, some of which might even be your children or grandchildren. For example, if we aren't funded at our core, we might lose that supplement, which would then make us unable to be competitive with the other school districts in North Carolina and keep us from recruiting and retaining quality staff. We could also lose our TAs. They are such an amazingly great value and so incredibly flexible. They reduce the student-teacher ratio without the cost of building and supplying new classrooms. They work directly with students, or they perform non-instructional but necessary duties so that teachers can focus on teaching. So I ask you tonight, and I know it's not easy because you got a lot of people who are asking you for stuff, but I ask you tonight to consider funding us at the core budget submitted by Dr. Wirt, his cabinet, and the school board. Thank you.
Thank you. Tasha Lemons.
Good evening. My name is Latasha Lemons, and I'm a teacher assistant. I've been a teacher assistant for over 20 years, working for Orange County Schools. It's been a privilege to work with the students in Orange County. And I just want to thank you, commissioners, for, I want to personally thank you for continuing to support the teacher assistants in Orange County. Our position as teacher assistants encompasses a wide range of responsibilities. We as teacher assistants, we lead intervention groups, we mentor students, we keep up with runaway kindergartners, we provide hugs, we reteach concepts, we assist with discipline issues, we teach guided reading, math, writing, we read one-on-one with students, we teach lessons, we tie shoes, we work with students one-on-one, we provide feedback to students and teachers. We receive money, we grade work, we maintain required paperwork. We organize materials, we complete first responder training, we administer medication, we proctor standardized tests. We also have dual roles working in the after-school programs, driving buses, and running the Orange County School Summer Camp programs. And as I said, it's a privilege to work for Orange County, and we ask that you continue to support the teacher assistants and continue to fund our positions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up is Robert Griffin, and then Annika Opawal.
First of all, I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Robert Griffin. I'm a Spanish teacher at Orange High School. Been teaching 21 years. This is my 13th year in Orange County between Chapel Hill Carver Schools and Orange County Schools. And I'm here tonight to show my support for our language program. And due to some budget cuts, there may be some questions of whether we'll be able to preserve positions of our elementary Spanish and French teachers, our middle school Spanish and French teachers, and some of the programs we need for high school, programs such as having a native speakers class or heritage speakers class. And as we know, we don't want to shortchange our kids. We're in an economy, a global economy, an international community. The world is so much smaller than it was maybe 30 years ago when I graduated from high school. And part of the way that we can make our kids competitive is to help them acquire the skills to be bilingual. I have a cousin who actually married a German girl, and his kids speak German, English, French, and now they're taking Spanish. So I took the opportunity to speak a little Spanish with them over the Christmas holiday. And we're seeing that we as Americans are not as competitive in this global economy as far as being able to communicate in several languages. So to keep our kids from being not so competitive in this global economy, I'm asking you guys tonight to please consider protecting our Spanish and French positions in the middle school and elementary school and high school, because we know that elementary school kids are like little sponges. They're learning languages just like this, and they love it. And we want them to come up to middle school with more, and come up to high school with more, and go into college with more. And we want them to see them successful in this global economy. So we need that strong basis in the language programs in elementary school and middle school, Spanish and French. And again, thank you for all of your support. I've really enjoyed teaching here in Orange County, and I hope that you will keep in mind the importance of preserving our Spanish and French programs at the middle school and elementary school level. Thank you.
Thank you. Annika Opawal, and then Gloria Amerson.
Good evening. My name is Annika Opawal, and I teach Spanish at Gravelly Hill Middle School. I'm here today to advocate for the World Language Program across all levels in our district, elementary, middle, and high school. Teachers are often told that we are preparing our future leaders. When I think about my students as our future leaders, I do believe our future is bright. I consider my 8th grade students who have just completed 2 years of middle school Spanish and will begin Spanish 2 in high school. They are hardworking, empathetic, curious, thoughtful, cooperative, and they are all on their way to becoming bilingual or trilingual. They are becoming the leaders I know we will turn to in the future. I asked them what learning a language in middle school has meant to them, and I'd like to share some of their responses. One said, learning Spanish in middle school has meant getting a jump start into my future. I feel like knowing the basics of Spanish is going to help me in the future for school and for the jobs I might have. Another said, learning a language in middle school is so much fun. Learning a language also teaches you about history and different cultures. In our Spanish class, we have learned about Hispanic history and cultures. It's not all just about the language. Our population is becoming more diverse, and it is very important to know other languages. Another said that learning a language has given her an open door to other cultures and other parts of the world. It has given her the opportunity to interact with people who speak a language other than English and to be able to learn from them. She cited that Spanish is the second most spoken language in the world, even more so than English. One said that she hopes many other students get the opportunity that she did to study another language in middle school. Let's continue to give our students all of the opportunities that we can in order to prepare our future leaders. In the upcoming school year's budget, I urge you to protect all student opportunities for the sake of our futures. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Gloria Amerson, and then Janice Gilreath.
Excuse me.
Sorry, we had a prop. Okay. My name is Gloria Amerson, and I have been a middle school French and ESL teacher in Orange County Schools for 3 years. I am proud to live in a county that has supported world language instruction at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. I am here this evening to advise against the reduction or elimination of the world language program for next year's budget. There are many reasons why learning a language is critical for students' cognitive development and career readiness. Tonight, however, I would like to focus on the issue of timing as we make decisions to cut programs that teach students to celebrate diversity. Last November, I could not have been more proud of the timing of a phone message that was sent by our district leaders to every family in the Orange County school system. It was a simple reaffirmation of our district's anti-discrimination policy, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, disability, or age. It also acknowledges the dignity and worth of all students and employees. The timing of this message was significant. We currently live in a time when the expectation of tolerance is not always a given. As we see a rising prevalence of hate crimes and bullying across the country, reinforcing the value of diversity is needed now more than ever. In our language classrooms, we affirm the importance of cherishing our differences and the need to treat others the way we would want to be treated. We teach empathy and the value of other cultures and ways of life. Cutting the world language program at such a time would have a detrimental impact on our Orange County community and indeed on the type of community that we would want for our future generation. I've invited some of my French students to display a poster we made earlier this year. Above all, it is a message of love and acceptance. I hope that the board will continue to support our language program as it teaches and models the type of community we would all like to see in the world. And thank you. At this time, I do have 3 students who have just a little bit to say. I hope you don't mind. But I would like to start with Nick. Nick, if you wouldn't mind going first.
Keeping world languages. Learning French helped me learn new things about parts of the world that I may not get the chance to visit. French is exciting and we get to do new fun activities that we do not have the opportunity to do in our core classes. If French was taken away from my schedule, an important part of my day would be gone.
Just pull it down towards your face.
Okay.
One day your children will be the next doctors, lawyers, and government leaders. To become the best at what they do, they will need to have diversity and be culturally sensitive. Just one way to make it easier to cross barriers is to learn languages. It is very important to learn a language because it sets you apart and you are to help more people. Yeah, that's it.
Hi, my name is Lexi Bonin. I'm a 7th grader at Gravelly Hill Middle School. I've been taking French for the past 2 years, and I want to do nothing more than make people feel as welcome and loved as I have felt in this group. I want to be able to tell people they are beautiful, they are amazing, and they are unique. I want to do that for everyone, not just those who speak English. I don't want languages to hold us back, because if they do, I feel all the other voices will be lost. Please let us learn to understand them. Please let us learn to hear what they have to say, and thank you for hearing me.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Can you turn around and let everyone see that? There you go. Very sweet.
Janice Gilreath, and then Trina Smith.
A little taller than the last speaker. Good evening. I'm Janice Gilreath. I've been an Orange County resident and an employee of Orange County Schools for 18 years and a teacher for 24. I'm a Spanish and International Baccalaureate teacher, and as you can see by my colors, I work at Cedar Ridge. I'm also the president of the Orange County Association of Educators. It is in service of all of these roles that I am here tonight. A year ago, parents, students, community members, and staff of Orange County Schools spoke eloquently on behalf of a per-pupil funding increase. Thank you for having heard them. Thank you for making a commitment to supporting public education in this county by funding that request. We need you to maintain that commitment by fully funding the current $257 per-pupil funding request by Orange County Schools. Otherwise, we risk losing a number of important programs. I can't list these in order of importance because they all have value in the progress of our children. Among programs at risk are the Universal Breakfast Program and teaching assistants at elementary level. There is plenty of research to show the impact of hunger on learning, especially for younger children. Teaching assistants provide essential support in the elementary classroom. We have already lost them past grade 3. Also at risk are middle school after school and athletic supplements for middle and high school coaches. According to a parent I spoke to recently, the after-school program is excellent. I see the value students place on athletics daily. For many, it is their passion. For some, it is the hook that keeps them concerned about learning so that they can remain eligible to play. From sports, our students learn discipline, commitment, and fair play. We could lose funds for travel and training for staff. It is essential that educators keep in tune with the latest techniques in teaching and in their specialty areas. More than one parent has expressed to me the value of the International Baccalaureate program for their child. One recently stated that the IB program was the best place for her son. In world languages, are we willing to face the possibility of losing elementary level Spanish when children are most apt for language acquisition, or narrowing the choice of languages or high school levels offered? Will our students lose French or Latin as an option, or not have IB or AP second language opportunities? Keep in mind that 4 years of world language study at high school level makes students competitive in attending top universities. Orange County School students have amazing opportunities to learn and grow in a variety of ways. We need to maintain these programs to ensure that our public schools provide our young people with a vital, competitive education that prepares them for the future. Don't we want Orange County Public Schools to be the first choice for families in this area? I appreciate your time and attention. I trust that you will give our concerns full consideration, and again, I ask that you fully fund the per-pupil spending requests made by Orange County Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Katrina Smith, and then Rachel Mulock.
Hello, thank you. My name is Katrina Smith, and I am the department chair of the World Languages in Cedar Ridge. I previously worked at New Hope Elementary as a Spanish teacher, and I'm here to support all our programs that are threatened by the current budget crisis. The many benefits of learning a second language, especially at an early age, have long been researched and documented. Our surrounding communities offer elementary language classes and dual language classrooms. Why would we in Orange County lower our standards? I would like to share these words from NCDPI's website. World language study benefits all students. The study of another language leads to higher scores on standardized tests, reading, math, and SAT, greater cognitive development in the areas of mental flexibility, creativity, divergent thinking, and higher order thinking skills, a broader English vocabulary, and a better understanding of one's own language, culture, and enhanced career opportunities. Our French teacher, Mrs. Payton from Cedar Ridge, is currently planning to take 48 students and parents to Europe in a couple of days. Our Latin students have consistently won national awards from Latin 1 to IB. Year after year, our Spanish students earn top scores on their IB exams and continue their studies in college and in the workforce. Our programs matter. Our world language programs are not only required by many colleges, but more importantly, expand our students' worldview. Our courses foster understanding, respect, and love for culture and language. If we take away knowledge of other languages and culture, we lose sight of the very basic things we're trying to teach American children. We, as educators, want our children to become less ethnocentric and more capable of successfully engaging in a global market. Orange County is an outstanding district. I'm proud to say I've been an employee here for 12 years. We must maintain our high level of excellence by offering students a comprehensive education that prepares them to be world citizens. Our students deserve the best that we have to offer, and cutting vital programs falls short of our commitment to their future. Thank you, gracias, merci, and gratias tibi ago.
Thank you. Rachel Mulak, and then Cynthia Ortiz, Kathica Ortiz, sorry.
Good evening. First of all, thank you for pronouncing my last name right. You have no idea how often I've been a Murdoch instead of a Mulak. My name is Rachel Mulak, and I'm the Spanish teacher at Eflin Keys Global Elementary. Working in a global school is something that I take great pride in because of the immense responsibility that comes with the knowledge that my students are depending on me to teach them about the world. Teaching a second language is no easy feat, but is one that is necessary because of the incalculable benefits to our children. Analytical and problem-solving skills drastically improve when people are taught a foreign language due to the complex nature of learning how to speak a second language. The understanding of one's own language, including grammar, structure, and spelling, is heightened due to the intensive study of what it means to translate text. Teaching young children a foreign language at the elementary level ensures that our students understand that language is a universal passport. Language allows one to have a heightened moral code of tolerance and to limit barriers. Refusing to acknowledge the existence of other languages and cultures creates a barrier built brick by brick from distrust and fear of others. Learning a second language gives our students a competitive edge in the global market. The ability to be bilingual or polyglot boosts our students to a whole new level of success in the workforce. Hundreds of thousands of jobs in our nation are created in response to foreign trade, and our job as educators is to prepare our students to be successful adults. As you can see, learning a second language is more than simply speaking a second language. Due to the 3-minute time limit, I was only able to discuss a few of the advantages of fully funding foreign language studies in Orange County. However, with simple research outside of this building, it becomes clear that eliminating foreign language would be a disservice to our students. It would encourage parents to seek a quality education for their children in the private sector of education, ultimately reducing enrollments in our public schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathica Ortiz, and then Sonia Sutton. Is Miss Ortiz here still? Ortiz? How about Miss Sutton?
Hi, good evening. My name is Sonia Sutton, and I'm the PTA president at Hillsborough Elementary and the parent of 2 students at Hillsborough Elementary. My oldest is going to Standback Middle in the fall. I first want to say thank you for the board to providing funding for our students so generously. When I was looking into this issue, I've realized how much funding Orange County continues to give to us, and you all have been remarkable in supporting the students for the years that we've had so far. But I'm still going to ask for more because it's so important for the programs that we have, and that it's so important for our students. Teaching assistants in the elementary grade levels are so essential. They're the first people that our students see when they come to school. Sometimes they're their bus drivers, and then they're the last people they see at the end of the day as they leave for going home and after school. And they continue to love and support our students even after they've left the grade levels in which they're the assistants. So my 5th grader still hugs her kindergarten teacher assistant when she sees her in the hallways. And the programs that support our students who need the most support, with programs like AIG to highlight our brightest students, Universal Breakfast, which keeps our children who arrive to school hungry, that allows them to be able to be better prepared for their day, and also to have the middle school after school program keeps those kids who are at a really vital age for maybe being in at risk for risky behaviors, they're able to have them in a safe and secure place in the afternoons. I want to also say that as PTA president, we are doing everything we can to help advocate at the federal and state levels for our students and for our teachers and for our communities. But until we can get that message across to those state and federal funders, we need you all to continue to give the funding that you all have given and to increase and fully fund the request from Orange County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up is Alan Green, and then Tracy Shin.
Good evening. Chair Dorson and Vice Chair Rich. I'm here to address you on a familiar subject for me, at least, the Mountain to the Sea Trail and its completion of segment 11 through Orange County. This will be hopefully in an email that you get. Donna suggested that I send it that way. If you remember back in November of 2015, November 17th, there was a BOCC meeting where the state presented its plan. And you all said, this is great, and asked our Parks and Recreation Council to come up with a plan for a master plan. And Dave Stansel said he thought it could be done in 3 to 6 months in November of 2015. In January 21st of 2016, we had a meeting where the plan did come back. It was not a detailed timeline plan, but it did give you an idea of what would be included. There would be stakeholder meetings and community meetings. And along with that meeting, I presented a plan in response to Commissioner McKee's and Commissioner Dorson's request for a detailed timeline. And that was presented at that meeting. In April of 2016, the first community meeting was held. It was not a very productive meeting. On June 23rd, the OWASA board held a meeting. There was extensive comment, but they approved allowing the trail to pass through the OWASA property. That was June of 2016. They reiterated that in August. In September 19th, we had our second community meeting at Mapleview, and that was pretty successful. It was an orderly meeting, a lot of good expert testimony, kind of eliminated the issues that had been so inflammatory. A third community meeting in December was canceled and rescheduled for March 6th. March 6th, we had our third community meeting, and that focused on primarily the northern section, the Hillsborough end, but didn't do much to resolve or move forward the OWASA portion. We had our final report. You were told you would get a report in May. That was deferred now until September. So what I'm trying to paint is a picture of delays and missed opportunities that goes back more than 18 months. We do have some progress in that OWASA has approved the trail, but we have no real no real limitations or constraints to finishing the trail through Orange County along the lines of what it was back 18 months ago. A road walk from Saxbaha to OWASA, and then a road walk from Buckhorn Road up to the 7 Mile Creek Preserve. The FMST and local residents are willing to make this a reality. And the best thing is, it's not going to cost much at all. So I would ask you to revisit the delay and ask that we do something to get the MST on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Tracy Shin, and then Bob Shrine.
Hi, I'm nervous. I haven't had to do this in a while. I'm Tracy Shin. I'm the treasurer of the PTA at Hillsborough Elementary School. I have one child in 2nd grade, and I have one entering kindergarten next year. I'm here on behalf of Orange County Schools to request that you fully fund their request for the budget. For me, it sort of seems like common sense that our teachers need the professional development, we need languages for our children, and we need to keep our coaches at our special programs to remain competitive and to keep our children, people have sort of dropped the issue of obesity and things like that, but we still do need our coaches in our athletic programs as well to keep going in those areas. I would like to mostly speak about teaching assistants and how important they are in our classrooms. They are an extension of the teachers. They help the teachers teach every subject throughout the day. They're able to let the classes be divided into smaller groups, which help with the learning of the smaller, of the children with their reading, with their learning targets each day. I think that if you take away the teaching assistants, you will see students below grade level at a higher rate. The teaching assistants also provide a level of safety for the classroom. If there are injuries or other things or students need medication, the teachers cannot leave the classroom. You'll be pulling other staff to help with those needs as well. The school day would almost literally have to start later in the day so that the teachers could do the administrative things that the teaching assistants do. So it would take away from their actual teaching duties. What else? Just a lack of the teaching assistants would put our students at a big disadvantage. They are what allow our students to be successful as they are today. I don't know, I guess the last thing I just want to say was please help maintain what we've been able to achieve today, and thank you so much for doing what you have so far. But yes, please fund Orange County Schools, full request for the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Shrine, and then Will Gurman.
Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of the coaches from Orange County School System. My name is Bob Schreiner. It's my fault because I don't write very well. But I've been a coach in Orange County for 30 years, 1 year at Chapel Hill High School, and 29 years here in Orange County at Orange High School. I have coached wrestling for 30 years, football for 12, baseball for 3, and athletics, does something for young people. And I have 5 children, 3 girls and 2 boys, and all 5 of them have participated in athletics at Orange High School, from soccer to cross country to volleyball to football to baseball and wrestling. And it has instilled confidence in my children. And I just know for all the other children that participate in athletics. We only get a chance to participate for a couple of years, maybe 1% go on to college. And Billy Graham once said that one coach will impact more young people in a year than the average person does in a lifetime. And as a coach, I feel like you should have core values that the kids should be learning, and humility, discipline, self-control, respect for authority and opponents, team unity, family, love for each other, sacrifice and dedication. And these are the things that are taught in athletics, because the trophies fade and people forget what you did as a team, but the relationships and the life lessons last forever. And I have a note from one of my wrestlers of the past, and this is what he said. He wrote to me, he said, "But like you told us, it's about lifelong lessons we learn from this incredible sport that are worth more than anything. Your godly influence and the lessons that I have learned from wrestling have made a forever enduring impression on my life, and my mentality towards life will never be the same. I am so thankful for that." Athletics done the right way does amazing things for children. There's a lot of children that come to school, they're not the greatest in the classroom, but because of athletics and being part of a team and knowing that people care about them, they come to school. And it changes lives, and it does amazing things that other things just don't do. So I just thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of the coaches of Orange County. And coaching and after-school athletics just does amazing things for children. Thank you.
Thank you. Will Gurman, and then Arlene Saper.
Good evening. My name is Will Gehrman, and I am the athletic director at Gravely Hill Middle School. I went to New Hope Elementary, A.L. Standback, and Cedar Ridge High. I've been the athletic director for about 5 months now. And this is something that I saw from the other side coming up. It was a great experience to play athletics here in Orange County. I learned so much from all of my coaches, and it's great to come back here and see lots of them still around. My hope is that we can continue to provide the funding, and in fact, we've had a pay freeze for the past 9 years on those supplements. The people that are dependent are beyond just the children. Those are the parents that need help with after school. Those are family members that are not parents that are taking care of kids. And the kids, in fact, absolutely depend on it because, like Mr. Schreiner said, they are learning so much more from this than just sports. There's so much more that goes into coaching than just teaching someone a sport. It's of so much value. And I really can't express enough how much it's meant in my life and what it's done for me. And as hard as these coaches work, they need time, they need more resources, and they need the ability to continue their professional development and make sure that we're putting them in a great position to teach these young kids safety, to teach them discipline, respect, and all of the things that create good humans in our society. I have kids come up to me every single day and say, "Hey, Coach Will, how are you doing?" Constantly with a smile on their face. Kids that are from all different walks of life. I have one kid in particular that came up to me after the basketball season and said, "Hey, Coach, I'm getting all my grades up so I can play. Do you think next year I can play lacrosse?" Absolutely. That's what sports do. It encourages them to be better. So I encourage you guys, please, to continue funding and also to revisit the supplements. And I'm strongly encouraging that the increases be met to maintain what these coaches really deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Arlene Saper, and then Monique McAdoo.
Thank you for giving me just a few minutes. I just want to reiterate what was previously said. My name is Arlene Saper, and I'm from Cameron Park Elementary School. I've been teaching foreign language for a number of years here and outside of the state. And I just want to reiterate that and say that the language cognitive abilities of children studying language are greatly increased. Scores go up, children's self-esteem goes up. I have children who come to me after we're practicing, ready for performing at Cultural Explosion, saying thank you, I enjoyed it so much. And some children, many children, who are also having a difficult time in the classroom. So I would like you to consider not just fully funding the foreign language program, but in thinking about increasing it to 150 minutes, which is really the minimum for a foreign language program for children to adequately grasp and be ready. 21st century, we're here, bilingual, bicultural, and open their minds because a broad worldview is what we need for children, and access to knowledge of cultures, not just their own, but from around the world, as well as acceptance of other people because they understand that my way is not the only way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Monique McAdoo.
Good evening. My name is Monique McAdoo, and I'm a former graduate of Orange County Schools. I'm also a teacher assistant. I'm also an after-school group leader. I'm also a graduate student and aspiring teacher at elementary school. I don't know where I would be without the programs that Orange County Schools provide. I personally spoke foreign language from middle school all the way through high school. I also did sports. I did cheerleading and track. Coach Schreiner was one of my coaches as well. I also participate in AIG in elementary and AP programs as a high school student. All of these programs make me who I am and extremely competitive in the workforce. I also mentioned that I'm a bar certified paralegal. I choose to work for Orange County Schools because I believe in the families, the teachers, my colleagues, the initiative for the school, and I also believe in the students, and I believe that we are shaping the future. I pray that you continue to fund our school and continue to support me in my academic goals. I would love to continue working for Orange County. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Ms. McAdoo was the last person signed up for this portion, so I want to thank all of those folks who came out, and before you leave, which you, of course, are welcome to do if you are not prepared to stay for the whole meeting, although it's going to be an exciting one, so I encourage that. But just so everyone knows, we have a work session on the budget on Thursday, June 8th, which will be at the Southern Human Services Center. Then we have another work session a week from tonight on the 13th. That will be here. And then we have our final work session on June 15th, which is a week from Thursday, where we'll hopefully finalize everything, and that'll also be at the Southern Human Services Center. So I want to thank you all, and I just want to make sure everyone knows that the county's responsibility is to provide the funding, but how many minutes of foreign language they get is Dr. Wirt's responsibility. So we don't have any control over that. So just want to make sure we understand our respective roles. So thank you all. And if folks do want to leave, of course, you're free to do so. We'll go on to the rest of the agenda. So we have, and there is one, I forgot in the additions, in 4, we already did 4A, we're going to do 4B, and then we have this other resolution that Commissioner Rich brought forward, which will make 4C, if that's agreeable to everyone. So, okay, good. So we'll go on now to item, we're going to Section 4, Proclamations, Resolutions, Special Presentations. We're going to 4B, which is the Voluntary Enhanced Agricultural District designation for multiple farms this evening.
You want to do 3 first? The announcements.
Oh, yeah, I forgot 3, yeah. I really don't, no, it's fine. So I forgot item 3, I'm sorry. I'm so,
Ready,
So
go.
item 3 is announcements, petitions, and comments by board members, hopefully with a 3-minute limit per commissioner. And I've been told I always go to one side, but I'm not sure which one it is. So this time I'm going to go, my instinct is always go left, so I'm going to go right to Commissioner McKee.
You took your instinct to right. I wish the Board of Education had not left, because my comments are going to be directed to their revised figures and the willingness to bring those revised figures forward before the last minute. I've always considered the budget process a negotiation process. I don't consider it adversarial process, and so it was heartening to see them bring those figures forward so that we've got time to consider it.
Thank you. Commissioner Burrows?
So I have learned that the best thing for me to do to keep from coughing is to not talk. So I'm going to be especially succinct this evening, and thank you for your indulgence for listening to me cough.
William Shakespeare said, "Men of few words are the best men." So, but I think it applies across genders. Commissioner Jacobs?
I'm sure I'll cough less if I don't speak, but that's not going to stop me. Just a few things. One, the Justice Advisory Council met last Friday, and we spent a lot of time talking about a reentry program for people who've been incarcerated in Orange County, and we're making real progress. We're one of the few counties in the state that is preparing, either as doing its own program or is preparing to start a program. And so it was really, I thought, inspiring to see how many members of the legal community and the justice community were stepping forward to work on this. And I also wanted to, following up on acknowledging Mr. Williams, to congratulate Susan Seahorn for becoming our next public defender. she came to the meeting, even though she'd only been appointed the day before. So she was obviously as dedicated as Mr. Williams at the outset. And then I just wanted to point out something and suggest either a resolution, perhaps, by the board. We have an item later where we're helping to buy 2 conservation easements, and Orange County is spending $185,000, and the city of Raleigh is spending $167,000 to protect land in northern Orange County. And I would like to ask Mr. Stansel to come up with a total for how much the city of Raleigh has spent to help protect its water supply in Orange County. And I would like us to consider a resolution or proclamation thanking the city of Raleigh and asking our other municipal neighbors to step up and do as well.
Step up to thank them or step up to preserve the resource?
Step up to emulate the city of Raleigh.
All right, we'll take that as a petition. I think that's a good idea for Mr. Stansel. Commissioner Rich?
I'll wait till this. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Markopoulos?
So I emailed you earlier today with a copy of this resolution that I would like to see us consider at our next regular meeting on the 20th. And it's along with the theme of climate change, which we'll be talking about a little bit tonight. Over the last couple of years, in speaking with climate activists in the region, and particularly friends of mine at NC Warren in Durham, one of the foremost climate crisis analysts in the country, really learned that methane from fracking and methane from gas plants is 3 times worse than coal, and yet we laud the gas as a bridge fuel to help us shut down coal plants. So this resolution is entitled Resolution to Slow the Climate Crisis by Reducing Methane Emissions from the Fracked Gas and Power Industries. And hopefully we can discuss this at the June 20th meeting. Thanks.
Commissioner Price?
I have an announcement and a petition. The first, I just want folks to know that Rick Bruton of Cardinal Innovations had reported that the 2 group homes that we're seeking to close, they are going to remain open. They were able to, one is in Hillsborough and the other's in Roxborough. The provider had notified Cardinal back in December that they wanted to close, but Cardinal was able to work with them. Well, also there were, members of the board that had complained, why is this happening? So they were able to negotiate something so that they could stay open. And I'm unsure whether that is supposed to end on June 30th or not, but they're going to do their best to try to figure out something so that the patients or clients don't wind up having to go to a place like Charlotte for group home. So I just wanted everyone to know about that, and if the manager could follow up. I think you have other communications with Cardinal at times, so that's kind of an announcement petition. My petition is with respect to James Williams, that we follow up with a phase 2 of the jury selection project.
Mr. Chair, if I might reply to Commissioner Price's comment on Cardinal, please.
Sure.
Commissioner Price, I very much appreciate you following up with Cardinal and working with them to ensure that those homes do not close. The home in Person County, the commissioners, at the time I spoke with one of the commissioners, I don't believe were quite aware of exactly what was going on. Caught them off guard just a little bit, or maybe a lot. So, and if you'll follow up, I'll also stay in touch with the Person County folk and make sure that it's coordinated from both sides.
Yeah, everyone's been weighing in by email for Cardinal to be more transparent with what's going on.
All right, well, I just had 2 quick things. One, on an announcement I guess it was last week, we had the groundbreaking for the Orange County Veterans Memorial out there at the Southern Human Services Center. It was a really beautiful ceremony and well attended. Lots of commissioners were there and other folks. And it's exciting to see that project moving forward, and appreciate the efforts of everybody here, especially Commissioner Jacobs and Price, who were on that committee. I also wanted to I guess this would be a petition. I'd like to get just a follow-up from deeper about that Mountains to Sea trail and just a report on following up on the comments we heard this evening. And that's it. Okay, so now we'll move on to item 4B, which is the Voluntary and Enhanced Agricultural District designation for multiple farms. Board will consider applications from 10 landowners to certify qualifying farmland within the Caldwell, King Creek, Buckhorn, Whitecross, Cedar Grove, Schley-Eno Voluntary Agricultural Districts, and enroll and/or update ownership for the lands in the Orange County Voluntary Agricultural District and the Enhanced Voluntary Agricultural District programs. And our friend Gail Hughes is here to walk us through it.
That's a
Welcome.
mouthful, isn't it? Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to bring these to you. We've had a busy spring, a number of applications, as you can see. You had received from the abstract the details about the farms, and so I will go through this fairly quickly with just some photos of the farms. And we do have some of the farmers with us. They were all invited. Some had conflicts, but I will recognize those who are with us tonight. So just as a very brief update for the audience, just what is the Voluntary Agriculture Program? It is a 10-year commitment for the farmers to be active in farm production, but the landowner can withdraw from the voluntary ag at any time for any reason with a 30-day notification to the Ag Preservation Board. The enhanced, the other qualification, the Enhanced Voluntary Agriculture District, is an irrevocable 10-year commitment to be active farm production. Therefore, the enhanced qualifies the farm for up to 90% cost share rates for federal or state programs and priority for federal and state funding, or such as conservation easements and that type of thing. You can also see some of the benefits there. Primarily, in a nutshell, the benefits are so that the public knows that these are active farms in their community. They are farming, and they're a vital role in the economics of the county. Once the farms are enrolled, the agreements are recorded at land records, and then any new property searches or any property searches for potentially new landowners, for example, would find that they are entering into an agricultural district potentially, so it's not a surprise to them about the sights and sounds and smells that go along with farming. So I'll move on. Our first candidate for this evening for enrollment is Alan and Christine Green, and the Greens are here with us. They are already in the program for an enhanced voluntary ag program just down the road from this property, but they're asking to be included for another 18.5 acres. It is in the Cane Creek Buckhorn Agriculture District, which is southern Orange County. They're growing organic vegetable crops, pasture land. They have cattle. They also have managed woodland. And as I said, they are currently enrolled in the enhanced program. They're requesting to be enrolled in the voluntary program tonight for this 18.5 acres. The next farm may be a farm name very familiar to you. Former Commissioner Plessier and her husband Van Bennett requested to be enrolled in the Enhanced Voluntary Agriculture District for their farm in the Cedar Grove Agriculture District. It is 3 parcels of land. They grow blueberries, blackberries, fruit crops, fruit and vegetable crops, and they have managed woodland. They also, as you're probably very aware of, they have a conservation easement on their farm that is held by Orange County. Beautiful farm. You see some of the pictures there. And these were taken in the winter. So next farmer with us tonight and asking for enrollment is Gene Charles, or he goes by Gene, and Ruth Williams. They're in the southern part of the county in the White Cross Agriculture District. They're asking for enrollment in the voluntary agriculture program for his 72 acres on 2 parcels of land. They have beef cattle, they have pastures and hay crops for those beef cattle, and manage woodland. And Mr. Williams is here with us tonight. Mr. Williams. Thank you. The next farm for enrollment is it's a family. There's two separate parcels, but they asked to be enrolled together. Doug and Heidi Brown, and Helmut and Karen Horschke, I believe is how it's pronounced, their parents to Miss Brown. And Voluntary Agriculture District, 31.82 acres, in the Cedar Grove Agriculture District, right on the Person County line. 2 parcels of land, horses, beef cattle, chickens, pastures, hay crops, and managed woodland. The next farm asking to be enrolled is for the Voluntary Agriculture Program is for 42 acres in the Cedar Grove Agriculture District, owned by Wayne Parmalee and Alicia Belcher. They're growing vegetables, pasture for hogs, goats, and chickens, and they have managed woodland. They are new farmers to our county. They've only owned the property for about 3 years. The next farm to be enrolled, again, new farmers to our county, young couple, Jeff Burst and Stephanie Bullens. They're asking for enrollment in Voluntary Agriculture District of 52 acres in the Caldwell Agriculture District. The fields have been in tobacco and hay crops, and they're going to be transitioning into vegetables, berries, and fruit trees, and they also have managed woodland. I don't believe either of the last 2 couples were able to join us. The next farm that's being asked for enrollment is Mary Hill Farm. It is close to the Mebane area. It's in the Cane Creek Buckhorn Agriculture District. For the Voluntary Agriculture District, it's a combination of 5 parcels of land with multiple owners, but they're all the same, they're all family members. They have given permission for Ms. Holtkamp, Lynn Holtkamp, to apply for them. Some of them are from out of state. They have beef cattle, pasture, hay crops, and managed woodland on their 5 parcels of land. This farm is also registered in the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services Century Farm Program, meaning the farm ownership is over 100 years in the same family. And I did a little research, and the Holtkamp family goes back ownership to 1754. One of the oldest documented in Orange County at this point. So, was Ms. Holtkamp able to make it tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ms. Holtkamp. The next for inclusion and consideration to the Voluntary Agriculture Program is 50.63 acres in the Caldwell Agriculture District, 2 parcels of land owned by Lee Miller. Mr. Miller is already also in the Voluntary Ag Program in that Caldwell District with an additional 98 acres, and he has hay crops and managed woodland. This particular parcel, when he applied in 2002, did not meet the ordinance to be in our program because it had to be either contiguous or have at least 80 acres. So changing our ordinance has allowed many more farms to be into the program, and Mr. Miller could not be here tonight, but his family is, but I'll introduce them separately because there is a change of ownership. And the next is an ownership update also. This is for Ann Bacon Hollowell. It is inclusion into the Voluntary Agriculture Program. This is not new acreage. It's 42.22 acres in the Sly Eno Agriculture District. A portion of this farm, this 42 acres, was in the original Bacon Family Partnership from 2002. There's grains and hay crops, and they're potentially transitioning to horses and pastures for horses. Was Ms. Hollowell able to make it tonight? I had several that was maybes. And then lastly, we have again, an ownership update. This is Lee Miller's family, Michael and Sherry Miller Scully. And these again are not new acres, but just transitioning to a different ownership. For the Voluntary Agriculture Program, 44.2 acres in the Caldwell Agriculture District. Again, as I mentioned, it was from Mr. Miller's original farm from 2002. They raise beef cattle, pastures, hay crop, and manage woodland. Sherry Miller and her son and daughter are able to be with us tonight, so I'd like for them to wave. And And I do want to say that her children, both are very active on the farm. Her son is very active in FFA. I told him I was going to embarrass him. From what I understand, he's very interested in farming, and if this is the case, he will be the 5th generation farmer in the Miller family. So to wrap up, we're requesting approval from the commissioners to accept 10 farms into the program, 470 acres in the voluntary ag program and 91 acres in the enhanced voluntary ag program, for the total acres tonight being approved for 561 acres. I'm rounding these acres. And you did receive this map showing the locations of these farms, and with the time being short, I'll be glad to point out where they are if you'd like, but you can see your totals there. If the approval from the board, this would bring our totals up for the voluntary acres, the enhanced voluntary acres, for a total acreage in the program of 11,935.
Thank you. Before I get to comments, if we could just ask all the property owners to stand and be recognized and accept the thanks from the commission and all of us. Thank you all so much. Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner McKee.
Ms. Hughes, do you know how many of these total acres you're responsible for bringing in the program? Because there's been quite a bit of activity over the last few years.
It was not quite 3,000 acres when I started with the program in 2012, and so I hadn't done the math, but
It's significant. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question, actually, on that? That reminds me. How do folks find out about this? How do you or promote this program to people?
I pester them. No, I'm just kidding.
She does.
Well, primarily with our, I'm of course in the deeper department, and we're in the Soil and Water Conservation Division, and we are partners also with the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Natural Resource Conservation Service. So our job primarily is to work with these farmers on their property. So we go out to their farms, look at erosion problems, do conservation planning with the farmers. We look at helping them make plans for the future in terms of what crops would be best suited for their soil types and these types of things. So with doing those one-on-one visits in the farm, at the farmers is usually when I make these contacts with the farms. Several of our young farms that are in this, I made contacts at the Agriculture Summit. They were there this year, and I presented a program on the voluntary ag program at the Agriculture Summit, and that generated a number of farms also. But primarily one-on-one visits.
Well,
I've been working for Orange County, I'll have to say, 35 years this week. And so.
Congratulations.
Well, it is, as Commissioner McKee pointed out, a tribute to your diligent efforts and to the program, so thank you. So if there's no, Commissioner Jacobs.
Well, when we do this, I'd just like to acknowledge it's very heartening and impressive, the commitment that members of the agriculture community have to continuing the traditions and work of agriculture in Orange County. Orange County wouldn't be what it is without agriculture, and it's important that we continue to nurture it and preserve it, and we thank you for your commitment to doing so.
And with that, we need a motion to accept these, all this additional acreage into the program as described by Ms. Hughes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, and now we will go on to item 4C, which is the additional resolution that is at your place. And Commissioner Rich.
Yeah, thank you. This was prompted by conversations I've had with our 3 mayors in Orange County who have all signed on to We Are Still In. So this resolution of commitment to adopt, honor, and uphold the Paris Climate Agreement. Whereas the scientific community has reached an overwhelming consensus that the Earth's climate is warming and human activity, specifically burning fossil fuels that emit carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, is the primary cause of warming. And whereas the coastal states such as North Carolina are disproportionately vulnerable to the effects of climate change, including extreme heat, severe storms, and sea level rise, whereas reducing carbon emissions will help protect Orange County, North Carolina residents and future generations, particularly those who are most economically and physically vulnerable, and mitigate the consequences of extreme weather that hurt the economy. And whereas reducing carbon emissions and preparing for climate change will reduce illness caused by air pollution, high heat, and extreme weather. Whereas Orange County, North Carolina has reduced energy consumption by 15% per square foot since 2012, has made a formal resolution to reduce carbon emissions by 80% by 2050 against the 2005 levels, and has committed to move 100% renewable energy by 2050. Whereas President Trump has committed to withdraw the United States from the Paris Agreement, thereby retreating from the commitment to limit global warming to below 2 degrees Celsius. And whereas Orange County, North Carolina, and other states and local governments must commit to aggressive climate action in the absence of federal leadership, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Orange County Commissioners hereby commits to proportionally upholding the commitment made by the United States in the Paris Agreement to reduce greenhouse gases emission between 26 and 28% by 2025 from the 2005 levels. This the 6th day of June 2017. And I'd like to just say that, just a thank you to our Sustainability Director, Brennan, for giving us those percentages and also supplying the many resolutions that this board has passed over the years for this topic. And this is just adding to that and our commitment. So I would like to move this resolution.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Questions or comments? Commissioner Price?
Yes, if we could add either to this resolution or just do it to have this sent to the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, or else challenge other counties to do likewise. I know we're not going to get all in 100 counties to do so, but I think there are others that would. But I think that we need to spread the word, not keep it here.
Send it to the coastal
Yeah,
counties.
I would hope that we'd send it to all the counties.
I can send it to all 100 counties as well, to the clerks, if you'd like me to do that as well.
And then I have a comment also.
All right. Does anybody else have any comments? Okay, Commissioner Rich.
So I sent everybody by email. We are still in. I just sent it now. Commissioner Dorson asked me to send it. This is separate from the resolution that we're going to vote on, but it also has all the leaders of the states, the counties, the mayors, and the businesses that all signed on to making sure that they continue with what was agreed upon in the Paris Agreement. And I'd like Commissioner Dorson to sign it for us, but everyone should read it first and then get in touch with Commissioner Dorson to make sure that that's okay.
All right, motion has been made and seconded on the resolution. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rich. All right, now we are on to item 5, public hearings. We have one on the agenda tonight. It's the Orange County Consolidated Plan Annual Action Plan Update. The board is going to consider receiving comments from the public on our fiscal year 2017-18 Consolidated Plan Annual Action Plan for Housing and Community Development Programs, and then determine whether to adopt a resolution approving the Consolidated Housing Plan, authorizing the chair to sign a resolution, approving the proposed home program activities for 2017-18, and then authorizing the manager to implement the home program as approved by the BOCC. And we have Housing Director Annette Moore to take us through it. Welcome.
Thank you. And I'm going to try not to cough as well.
Got the cough drops if you need them.
Upon us. So in May 2015, you adopted a five-year consolidated plan, and which was also approved by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. That document detailed the housing needs for very low income and moderate income families and special populations groups, to outline strategies and plans for addressing those needs. The consolidated plan is required for all communities receiving home funds. Each year, local communities are required to submit an annual plan to HUD by May 15th. That has been changed this year. There was due to an enactment of an Appropriations Act, HUD is issuing revised procedures to govern the submission and review of those action plans. So we have an extended time in which to submit our annual plans. Public hearings were held on January 24th and April 4th to receive comments regarding community needs and the updates prior to the development and subsequent submission of the annual plan. Public comments received at this hearing will be summarized and added to the annual plan. A public notice was placed in the Chapel Hill News and the Herald Sun requesting public comments for the period of May 5th through June 5th, 2017, as required by HUD. The Orange County Housing, Human Rights, and Community Development Department accepted comments through June 5th as well, and will communicate comments received to HUD as well. Copies of the draft annual plan were placed in the department as well as in the libraries around the county. We're also asking you to approve the program design. We received this year a total of 3 applications for funding, requesting approximately $397,000 in home funds. There is approximately, we're guessing, because we still have not received our allocation from the federal government, so we're guessing that we will receive approximately $466,000, $400 in home funds, matching funds, and home program income available this year. The 3 in your packet, there's a resolution that outlines the requests and the allocations that the consortium made for those funds. So we're asking again, as Commissioner Dorison said, for you to open a public hearing, receive public comments, close the hearing, adopt the resolution approving the consolidated annual plan, adopt and authorize the chair to sign that resolution, and then to authorize the manager to implement the home program. Thank you.
All right, so let's begin with a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 7-0. The public hearing is open. Are there questions for Ms. Moore from the commissioners? Well, questions will be part of the public hearing, and her answers will be part of that public hearing as well.
I have a general question that could ask at any time, but.
Okay, well, now is as good a time as any, my friend.
So the federal government's allotment has been going down steadily for many years, right?
That's true.
And do you have any information off the top of your head as to where it's gone over the last 5 years? I mean, I'm trying to remember too, because I was on the committee and don't remember the number either, so I don't expect you to remember it. But I was struck by just what a steady downward trend it is.
Yeah, we have, I don't know why, but we have received a smaller and smaller allocation every year. Although we're trying to maximize the use of those funds, they still are decreasing. And I probably should have provided you with the information that I provided to Commissioner Price when she spoke at a public press conference on home. And so I will get that information to you. It kind of gives you the trend information of what we've used, what we've received over the last few years, but it has declined steadily. And so we don't know, again, whether it'll decline even more. And as you know, it's still in the budget, the president's budget, that home funds be cut entirely.
It's striking when you look at the numbers, how little work can actually be done for that money. I mean, it's very valuable, the work that's done, but it's just amazing how little trickle we get.
That's true.
Commissioner Price?
I can just add to that, the home and CDBG funds will be kept at the level that they've been at for the next year through 2017. For 2018, the May draft budget totally eliminates them. So they've been going down, and now it's talk about cutting them, but there is an effort to try to keep it.
All right. I just want to, this is a public hearing, so we'll open the floor to public comment if anybody wants to comment on this. I know there's folks here to comment on the next item, which is, or not the next item, but another item about housing on the agenda, which is about the bond. I just want folks to be clear. This item is talking about the home program money, which is a separate pot of money that comes from the federal government. And of course, folks are welcome to comment on that as well, but I just want to make clear that these are two separate pots of money with different eligibility requirements and things like that. So is there anybody signed up to speak on this?
Sir.
So there is nobody to sign up to speak on this. So I'll just note then for the record and for the folks, I see a lot of housing advocates out there in the audience, so just so folks know, the proposal for the home money is $250,000 for home ownership assistance allocated to Habitat for Humanity, $82,000 for acquisition of property that will be rented, that will be rental to empowerment, $33,680 for allocated to rebuilding together of the triangle for critical repairs, accessibility modifications, and home upgrades to low-income homeowners throughout the county, and then another $65,900 that will be allocated to the county's Housing and Community Development Department, also for housing rehabilitation. So three, as Ms. Moore said, three proposals, and then the fourth is money that would stay in the county's housing department for housing rehab. So if there are no other questions or comments, we'll have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0. And now we there are some resolutions at attachment 5A. And it would be great if somebody would take action on those resolutions.
Move the resolutions.
Second?
All right, so a motion has been made and seconded to adopt a resolution approving the fiscal year 2017-18 Consolidated Housing Plan and authorizing the chair to sign a resolution approving the proposed home program activities for 17-18 and authorizing the manager to implement the home program as approved by the BOCC. And that motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? That motion passes 7-0. All right, thank you. Now on to the regular agenda. First on the agenda is item 6A, amendments to the Water and Sewer Management Planning and Boundary Agreement. Board will consider adopting a revised amendment to the Water and Sewer Management Planning and Boundary Agreement map. This action will potentially, if we approve it, would supersede the resolution adopted on May 2nd and ensure that no action has been taken that impacts the rural buffer. Our comrade Perdita Holtz is here to make the presentation. And there's a copy of this PowerPoint at your place.
It's only one sheet, so you might
That's
have a
the
hard
best
time
kind.
finding it. As you know, we often refer to the agreement as the WASAMBA, which is how I'll be referring to it tonight, since it's such a mouthful. But as Chair Dorison indicated, the map that was adopted by the Board of Commissioners on May 2nd affected small portions of the rural buffer, both removing some area, or proposing to later remove some area and then adding to the rural buffer in some other areas. But there was subsequent concern about the later amendments that would be necessary to land use plans and joint land use plans and such that would be needed to accomplish those modifications to the rural buffer. So we've revised the map, and the map for consideration tonight does not affect any area that's currently designated rural buffer on either zoning or land use maps. The map that pertains to the area in Carborough's jurisdiction is also part of the resolution, and it is unchanged from the version that was considered on May 2nd. So this is the map that appears in the resolution packet. The revised map includes 84.16 acres going from Hillsborough Long-Term Interest Area to Hillsborough Primary Service Area. And the resolution also includes language that would have the effective date for the Hillsborough area map coincide with those future joint land use plan amendments that are expected in the fall. And this is the joint land use plan that the county has with the town of Hillsborough, not the joint land use plan that we have with Chapel Hill and Carrboro. Staff is exploring the possibility of having some sort of committee meeting to make sure that everybody is on board with the land use plan changes, and in order to get the ball rolling on those. And we're looking at possibly having that meeting sometime over the summer. So the recommendation for tonight is to adopt the resolution amending the WSAMBA. And as was stated in the intro, this would supersede the resolution that was adopted on May 2nd. With that, I'll turn it over to you all again.
Are there questions? Commissioner Price? Then
Is there
Commissioner
anything
Marcotte.
on the south side of West Scarlet Mountain Road? I think it's just, I mean, because the long-term, the primary, Hillsborough long-term to Hillsborough primary area doesn't go all the way to the rural buffer line. I don't think, that might just be wooded area, is that correct?
It is, and
So we don't have, my question was, would service not be provided to people on the other side of Scarlet Mountain Road?
it would not be provided to anything south of West Scarlet Mountain Road. That
But
would
is
be in
that
the
even
long-term
buildable?
interest area, because that's currently in the rural buffer.
The future, the current one, okay. I'm going by the map here. So the area between the blue line and the purple line,
Would remain in a long-term interest area, because there is a discrepancy in the rural buffer line in that area. And it's not a big discrepancy, it's maybe 100 feet.
yeah. And I'm thinking that there may not be, I'm trying to remember what's on that road. It might not even be buildable to even worry about providing services.
I know that there's a house on one of those lots there,
Oh,
but the house is located in the long-term interest area and is definitely rural buffer.
okay.
Because you're only looking at the 100 feet would be kind of where the road, where West Scarlet Mountain Road kind of runs.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Commissioner Markopoulos?
So we were going to change the rural buffer to meet its original intent, which was to be along the watershed line, right, initially, which makes a kind of sense to me. And so we're pulling back from that and just sticking with the line that we've got. So I'm wondering what the future land use line really means. Like, what would be an example of something that might happen that would bring that line into play?
Well, the future land use map is a separate map from the zoning map. And really zoning is more of the controlling factor when it comes down to what can I really do on my property. But there is a discrepancy there. And if somebody wanted to come in and develop their land We would have to figure out at that point what would need to be done.
So we really just kind of deferred the issue of moving the
It
line.
does, and this is not the only area in the rural buffer that has a discrepancy such as this. There are numerous areas. And so perhaps, at some point in the future, there may be interest in going ahead and reconciling those differences.
So are all those differences based on advanced knowledge of where the watersheds break?
We could do that type of analysis by catchment basin is what it was called, or we could just pick one line or the other. The zoning line matches up more properly with watershed lines that we get from like the USDA. These discrepancies happened when when hand-drawn maps were digitized in the 1990s. And, they're fairly small discrepancies, but if you own the property, it might matter to you.
And sooner or later, it's going to matter to somebody, right? It's going to happen somewhere, right?
Probably.
Yeah, so it seemed to me like it might have been a good idea to do it now and announce to everyone in the county that this may happen from time to time. But it's fine, but it just seemed to me like it would have been a good way to be proactive about defining what the rural buffer really is, the fact that it may affect other landowners, and people could just be a little prepared if they were paying attention. Just a thought.
Other comments?
Got a motion? Oh, I believe Commissioner Jacobs.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Commissioner Markopoulos, I think you make a good point. The way that we were operating at the last time we considered this, I don't think anybody had adequate time who would have been affected by the change. And so if we're going to do it as part of a public hearing, it's advertised in advance. And as you say, the reasons are explained in advance and people are notified. That would be a much more fair, sensitive, and intelligent way to do it. So I appreciate that staff drew back in response to what some of the commissioners were concerned about. And we can go forward, and if we think that this is a discrepancy we want to start with, since it's right in front of us, it's not unreasonable to include that when this comes back to us. I did want to suggest that since we're talking about reconstituting, even if just for one meeting, to have a committee with Hillsborough talk about the joint plan. I was the commissioner who represented Orange County at those meetings, and I would be glad to participate if the board decides it wants a commissioner, or the chair to participate, and I'll be glad to tell you what little I know, whatever you want to do.
Well, can I just ask a question to
Oh,
follow
yes.
up before your motion, Commissioner McKee? So I just want to, based on what you just said, Commissioner Jacobs, and I was getting water during the beginning of this, is the proposal to adopt this resolution and then to have this come back to us at another time? Is that?
It's the joint land use plan with Hillsborough that would be coming back to you, and this adoption would not be effective until that later plan is updated. And I had mentioned that staff is exploring whether some sort of committee between the county and Hillsborough should occur over the summer in order to get everything rolling.
And so the points that Commissioner Markopoulos is raising and Commissioner Jacobs is acknowledging about potentially fixing this discrepancy, if that's a reasonable word for it, could be part of those discussions?
It could be part of the discussions, but any discrepancy involving the rural buffer would also eventually involve Chapel Hill and Carborough, since the rural buffer pertains to that joint planning agreement.
Right, okay. Commissioner McKee?
Yes, having been an advocate for the previous proposed plan, but recognizing the concerns and the valid concerns that existed, I would like to make a motion that the board adopt the revised resolution amending the water and sewer management agreement, planning and boundary agreement.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Commissioner Rich?
So if we approve this, does that mean we're also approving to form a committee for discussion over the summer, or that has to be added into this?
That was going to be more of a staff-driven process over the summer that would include elected officials on some level, we're still working out the process. The manager's office would be involved with deciding with Hillsborough staff on what path that should take.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be part of this, you know, if you want to express interest in doing that, certainly you could.
Well, I think there should be discussion, because I think sometimes we're not talking enough about these areas, and especially with Hillsborough. So I think that I would like to see that committee form. I don't know if it's a 4 or 5 meeting committee. I'm not, it doesn't sound like it's a very long discussion, but I think that's important if we're going to go ahead and do this. And we'll sort of have a guide for us to go back and do, talk about all the other places where this is happening.
Good evening, Craig Benedict, Orange County Plan Director. The thought was to jumpstart it with the mayors and chairs and maybe an interested party, just to say, how many meetings, what's our quick mission to get done, and then if it needs to formalize after that, we could. But at first, I think the various boards have been very efficient with a chair, mayor, interested party, and then we go from there.
Commissioner Price?
Okay, so my concern actually was, I was just looking at a certain area, but was about the discrepancy. And I think that we should begin to talk about that to resolve that, as Commissioner Markopoulos was talking about. When I was talking about, south of Scarlet Mountain Road, it was because you've got, you've got 2 lines that are so close together. And it becomes a problem, for people that are moving in or want to build on one side of the road, and they're looking across the street and they've got service, but you can't get it, and it just becomes confusing. And I think if we can roll the discussion of these discrepancies and how to resolve them into those committee meetings, that might be helpful.
I mean, didn't what we approved last time actually get rid of that discrepancy? Didn't we move it all the way up to the line? And the concern was that we didn't do that in a transparent way, alerting the landowners in advance, right? Is that a fair summary of what we did last time?
That's fair. I think when we, over the summer, we can take a look at what would the process exactly be, have a public hearing with the people. It happens that on this southeast quadrant that there's a lot of similar property owners for multiple properties. So it won't be too hard to get their involvement. But yeah, we could come up with a protocol. What happens is it's a joint land use plan to the north with Hillsborough and a joint land use plan with Chapel and Carborough. So tweaking it just a little bit involved 3 extra elected bodies, which is an elaborate process. But we'll come up with a system that we could do. We definitely, the technology that we have on our GIS nowadays is so far advanced to the hand-drawn maps, tax maps that we used to use. So if we limit our modifications to an area that is a focus area like we're trying to do now, then because that rural buffer goes on for quite a few acres. But we could come back, that could be part of our little summer exercise.
Yeah, I mean, my point was just that really it represents a bad process we had. It sounds like there's probably generally consensus on fixing these lines, making them accurate to the technology we have, to the ridge lines, to the property lines when they go with those. And so it seems like the process was what got caught up in this. So my only suggestion is that whatever we do going forward, we make it as least complex as possible, because we have an understanding of what we anticipate. I'm not saying predicting what the outcome is, but at least what we anticipate, what we're trying to do. And so, let's just try to, whatever we do, streamline it as much as possible in that regard.
Will do.
Okay. So the motion, further comments?
Just
Yeah.
also add one thing, it's an opportunity to re-educate people on the rural buffer, because every time the rural buffer comes up, there's a large number of citizens who don't know why it's there, and it's always a good opportunity to take to reinforce the success that it's had and why it is where it is.
And I believe it's coming up on its 30th birthday, and so maybe we could try and do something to recognize that this fall.
That'd be cool.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
We'll coordinate this to be adopted on the 30th birthday, and then we'll have cake. All right, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Item 6B. Item 6B, request for proposal award of $2.5 million of the 2016 bond funds. The board will consider awarding the request for proposals for $2.5 million of the 2016 Affordable Housing Bond Funds and authorize the county manager to sign the necessary legal documents. Once again, making the presentation is Annette Moore. There's a handout at your places with some more detailed information from the original item. And just so folks know, there are several folks from the public signed up to speak on this as well. Ms. Moore.
Commissioners, on November 8th, 2016, an Orange County referendum was approved by the voters for $5 million for affordable housing. On February 7th, 2017, this board approved release of the RFP for $2.5 million of that bond. The deadline for submitting proposals was March 31st, 2017. A group of folks were evaluated the proposals. They included the deputy county manager, me, the AMS director, the planning director, finance director, and two people, one from the Orange County Housing Authority Board and one from the Affordable Housing Advisory Board. We all reviewed the proposals. We used the scoring sheet that you approved. We did it separately, and then we came together to discuss what we had, our evaluation, our scoring of it. There were 6 proposals, one from Habitat for Humanity, 2 from CASA, 2 from Empowerment, and 1 for the Center for Home Ownership. That proposal was incomplete, and so it was not a part of the scoring. So of the 5, the total amount of requests was $2,793,000 and $93,400, which exceeded the $2.5 million available by $293,000. The review committee is recommending funding for Habitat for Humanity in the amount of $915,334. They scored the highest with a score of 154.18. And that proposal is for 24 owner-occupied townhouses for seniors, the ages 55 and above, who earn between 30% and 80% of medium income. The second recommendation is for CASA for Merritt Mill East, which is located in Chapel Hill, in the amount of $636,533 for 12 new construction rental units for housing persons under 50% of AMI, with a priority for the homeless and disabled. They scored 146.95 points. A third is for CASA again, for Merritt Mill West, which is in Carborough, and we're recommending $736,833, and their project was for 16 new construction rental units with housing people under 50% of AMI, with a priority for homeless and the disabled, and they scored 147.93. Empowerment where is also recommended for funding in the amount of $211,300 for a project located at 116 Cole Street in Chapel Hill. It's a 3-bedroom rental housing for single families with housing persons with incomes under 50% of AMI. Their score was 94.57. And then Empowerment also had a request for a house at 606 Bynum Street, which is a two separate houses, one housing a 3-bedroom, one house contains 3 bedrooms and 1 bath, and the second house, 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. And that request was for $264,000 and $264,400. And they scored 89.71, but they were not recommended for funding. And as I said, the Center for Home Ownership, their application was incomplete. What we're requesting is that you review this and accept the recommendation of the committee.
All right, are there questions for Ms. Moore before we hear from the public? Commissioner Markopoulos?
What's the timeline? When is the money made available, and when does planning start, and when does construction start and future occupancy?
So on this narrative that I provided you, there is some timelines for the projects. The Empowerment, of course, is an existing unit. So when we would do the legal documentation, and we would award the funds after that. The other projects are reimbursable. So after the 3 projects, I think one, they're looking for a conditional use permit, so that has to be completed. The other 2, they're looking for special use permits, so those things have to be completed before the project would start. Habitat is requesting funds from us for infrastructure. So we're looking at project completions in 2018, 19, and 20, up to 20, for those multifamily units.
And are these designs, are they typical designs that the providers have used? Or does your department have any impact on the design process? Or is that just left up to them to bring the design?
It's left up to them. They all are Energy Star, have all the efficiencies for the new construction units.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Rich?
And the special use permits are from the town of Chapel Hill?
Chapel Hill, yes.
And do we foresee any problems with that?
No, we don't.
Thank you.
Other questions? Commissioner McKee?
I'm not sure if I'm counting the number of units right. I'm getting 55 units instead of 53 units. I mean, is there disparity?
My math might be bad.
No, I'm not calling out anybody's math, and what I was doing the other... Okay, I see where I'm messing up. There's no funding for the 2 units on the list. I was going down the number of units, and there's no funding on that. Okay, thank you.
Math is not my strong suit.
No, I knew that I knew there was something going on, that I was missing something.
Commissioner Price?
You know, what was the major fallback for the second empowerment project?
It was a lack of funding because these projects exceeded the amount of money that we had. There just wasn't enough money to fully fund all of the projects. So what we did was we recommending funding for the project that scored the highest.
Right. So hypothetically, if if we wanted to fund the second one with the two families, which was, they wanted $264,000. If we were to take away from either CASA or empowerment, would that jeopardize their program? Those other programs?
I don't know whether it would totally jeopardize it. I think that there are other funding opportunities for all of them, including empowerment. I was in contact with our municipal partners, and so there are other avenues to seek that money. We did look at alternatives as asking y'all to fund that additionally, but we have $2.5 million, and if we start eating an additional $2.5 million, and if we start eating into that, that's less money that we'll have for that time when we can really think about what the needs are and how we can leverage those dollars to maximize them and to maximize the amount of projects that we can do for the future.
And how many, was this all the total number of applicants? Because, you know, when we were having the public hearings, there were a lot more people that seemed to be interested in doing something.
Yes, this was the total number of applicants.
Commissioner McKee?
Yes, just to clarify, empowerment or any of the providers, particularly speaking to the empowerment request that wasn't accommodated, they would be able to rework and resubmit in the next round. Am I correct?
You're correct.
All right, let's hear from members of the public, and then we can continue the conversation. First up is Susan Levy, and then Dolores Bailey.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Susan Levy, the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity. First of all, thank you for approving the home funding. I didn't realize that was on tonight's agenda, but appreciate that very much. Thanks for the chance to come before you this evening. I want to let you know how happy and excited we are that Habitat's being recommended to receive 99% of the funding we requested for our senior housing development in Waterstone and Hillsborough. This is a project that we've been working on now for almost 2 years, and it's the result of a lot of careful planning and collaboration. And I especially want to recognize the wonderful folks at the Department on Aging. They've been our cheerleaders and our advisors throughout the planning process. And also the town of Hillsborough, which has also been very supportive, and they're hopefully going to be approving our special use permit modification on Monday night. Hopefully we can tell them that we have received funding from the county as well, so that we can move ahead with putting in the infrastructure. And we really hope to start that this summer and start building the actual units in the summer and fall of 2018. I'm also really excited that the bond funds that so many of us worked so hard to get approved back in November are being made available in such a timely way. And I want to thank you, the commissioners, and also the staff for making that happen and for really sticking to your calendar. So thank you for that. I want you to know that Habitat takes the investment of the county's funds in this project very seriously. We did our best to be sure that the county's funds will be highly leveraged. The total project cost that you have before you to deliver 24 affordable senior housing units is just under $2.6 million, which means that the county's investment of a little over $900,000 represents just over a third of the total project cost. So the subsidy from the county is about $38,000 per unit, and it's going to allow us to serve a combination of very low and low-income seniors who want and need a home where they can age in place affordably and with dignity. Habitat has already and will continue to invest a significant amount of our own capital in this project, and the town of Hillsborough and the original Waterstone developer will also be providing funding. We want you to be able to stretch the bond funds as far as possible and to be able to show voters that their investment was a good one that's going to have a significant impact on affordable housing in the county. And I think this project is going to help you tell that story. Thank you for all that you do to make this a more inclusive community and one where everyone can have a decent place to live. I hope that you'll approve the funding for our senior housing tonight. As some of you know, I'm going to be retiring from Habitat at the end of 2018, and with your support, I'll be leaving Habitat with this project well underway and with the knowledge that's going to be a model for senior affordable housing that can be replicated in other areas. And maybe I'll be low income enough to actually live there.
Thank you. Dolores Bailey, and then Shanita Howard.
Mr. Chairman, council members, Madam Manager, thank you for your time tonight. My name is Dolores Bailey. I'm the Executive Director of Empowerment Incorporated, located in Chapel Hill, but supplying affordable rentals throughout Orange County. Empowerment's model is unique in that we service those families that are at the lowest levels. We provide housing immediately. Unfortunately, our current inventory is full. Tonight, I'd like to thank you for being an excellent partner in the affordable housing rental program. Your support confirms how much you care about affordable rentals. Through your help, Empowerment owns 42 rental units. These units house families whose incomes are at less than 60% of the AMI. Empowerment Incorporated is one of the few landlords that accepts Section 8 vouchers or housing choice vouchers. Over 60% of our tenants are housing choice voucher holders. Even though we're able to help voucher holders, there are others we are not able to help. Empowerment Incorporated is proud to be a zone champion for Family Success Alliance. As a partner, we hope to provide affordable rental options for those families. As you know, many of those families are living in unsafe conditions, sleeping on relatives' couches or sleeping in their cars. Several of these families are paying over 50% of their income to live in Orange County. In March, Empowerment submitted 2 proposals for the $2.5 million bond. We received funding for one project. We did not receive funding for the project that has 2 homes on it and is ready to be occupied as soon as June 20th. I thank you for accepting that one proposal, but I'm here tonight to ask you to reconsider funding the second project. Bond funding will allow Empowerment to offer these homes to families with income levels at the levels of the families in the Family Success Alliance. You may or may not be aware of how difficult it is for our families to afford safe, affordable housing. I believe I have some families here tonight that will talk a little bit about that. Again, I am asking you, commissioners, to reconsider funding Empowerment's project at 602 Bynum Street, which can house 2 families immediately and allow us to reach that most vulnerable population of Orange County residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Shanita Howard, and then Yvette Matthews.
Good evening, County Commissioners and Orange County taxpayers. My name is Shanita Howard, and I've been a citizen here in Chapel Hill for the past 6 years, going on 7 years now. And I am really concerned and really thankful about the bond being passed. I'm thankful that many of those who are affected in need of the bond were actually there actively getting people to make sure that they voted for that bond. And we now have it. One of the things that I've noticed coming as a citizen here to Orange County was the growth and still being concerned of the trees and the people and the walking. I like the community of Orange County, and every time you turn around, there's other buildings that are going up. But even with all the careful, strategic engineering of building and maintaining a wonderful city, it seems like they forgot just a little section of those of us who are not able or perhaps do not have the salaries of those who can afford to live in this city. And there seems to be a hole in the barrel of the citizens who participate in paying taxes in the city, that there either are not enough housing or the ones that are being built are not for those who unfortunately do not have a double comma salary or a 6-figure salary. But we too desire and deserve housing. So one of the things that really got my attention on the first ones, the proposals for this bond, for those who wanted to go ahead and bid for the money and bid. One of the really important things that I personally were hoping that there was some form of tangible accountability with the ones who are asking for the money, because those of us who are looking to receive housing are asking that it still be maintained, and continue to look at the fact that it's being maintained on an ongoing basis, that we're not reinventing the wheel, that this is a roller coaster. And I'm looking at the numbers that someone was saying about the units, where it's approximately 50+ units. In CEF alone, we have 1,000 members, 1,000 here, 1,000. So that's 52, and 2.5. You can't get the rest of 2.5 until a year later. So does the numbers go down? Unfortunately, they don't. So that's 52 people that are going to house, or if these are 2 and 3 bedrooms, then how many family gets a house? So we're spending $2.5 million a year to house 52 people, and this is just this city. This is for Orange County, yes? So I just wanted to look at how strategic, and are we creating the problem to be even bigger, or do we just want to see something to make us feel like we're doing something? Thank you.
Thank you. Yvette Matthews, and then Mariela Hernandez.
Good evening, Commissioners. How are you? My name is Yvette Matthews, and I'm here representing CEF or Orange County, or really want to talk to you about the affordable housing bond. Thank you so much that it passed. Thank you so much that we're using it. Thank you so much that we're building the 53 units, but as Shanita said, to piggyback on her, that's not enough. CEF has over 1,000 members. IFC has over 2,000 members. We have a lot of these people who are homeless. You know that already. I think that by us winning the money, that it showed that people can come together for a common cause and make things happen. And I know that you understand by this not being enough that we need more. So I think if you would think about exactly how we can get more, do we need to vote again? What do we need to do to get some more money? Because we need more money, that's inevitable. I also would like to challenge you and invite you to our community, because I don't know if any of you live in it. I really don't think you do. But I would really like to see you come into the community. Come to IFC, come to CEF, come to the men's shelter, come to the women's shelter. Sit down and talk to the people that you're making the decisions for, because it's not fair to them to get out here and do the work, give you what you ask, and then we don't get what we need. So I would just like to consider that, and I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mariela Hernandez.
Good evening. My name is Mariela Hernandez. I am a Family Success Alliance Zone Navigator. I work with families in the community to benefit their kids in school by assisting them to navigate our programs, and in which I work with 17 families. 90 of them are undocumented immigrants, which are living in very poor living conditions. Some of them are also subleasing an apartment from a family member. Even though these families are undocumented, they work and they pay taxes. They don't qualify for housing vouchers, which they are not looking for, but they are looking for affordable housing, in which empowerment can work for that for them. They don't check Social Security, they only check background on housing, and at least 2 of my families are not right now on the wait list for empowerment. Unfortunately, one that had housing voucher, they took it off because they've been waiting for housing for a long time. Right now, they're living on a motel. So I ask that empowerment be granted some housing funds so they can secure the 2 homes at 606 Bynum and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for those comments. It's really important when we're talking about affordable housing. Would you like to speak? Sure. Come on up and tell us your name and.
Good evening. I'm Jess Brandis, housing developer with CASA. Just briefly wanted to, again, echo the thanks and gratitude that we have been recommended for nearly full funding for our Merritt Mill developments. Want to, agree with the numbers we're hearing and the statements that we really do need more. We're hearing about waiting lists. At CASA and our Orange County waiting list, we have over 300 households looking for housing. So we're very grateful for the opportunity in this development to bring forward 28 new units. But we recognize that it's, we all do have a ways to go there. Specifically, just to address a couple things we heard earlier in the comments, we are pursuing a special use permit with the town of Chapel Hill, as well as a conditional use permit with the town of Carrboro. And we're seeing really exciting collaboration between the two towns. We've had a joint meeting with planning staff, there were like 16 people in the room, to really work together to make a cohesive development that, despite being cross-jurisdictional, really has a great community feel, and you can't tell which side you're on. We're proposing 28 units, all serving people under 50% of AMI. CASA is known for prioritizing people with disabilities and people who are homeless. We've been doing so for 25 years. And just want to point out, we also will accept all housing vouchers. We're hearing, again, that's very critically important, and so we're hopeful that bringing these units can allow for more people with vouchers to find places that they can use them. Thanks very much.
Thank you. All right. So again, I want to thank everyone who came and made comments. It's challenging, and it would be short-sighted to try to make these decisions without the input of the people who are going to be developing this affordable housing and the people who are ultimately going to be living there. So I appreciate you all being here, staying as long as you did. It's a really invaluable perspective, and I just want to thank you for doing that. So now it's time for us to conversate and to hopefully make a decision. So does anyone want to begin? Mr. Commissioner Markopoulos?
One of the reasons I asked about the design process is partly related to my comments on the home fund. You look at the amount of money, and it seems at first glance like a lot of money, $5 million. I mean, I wish we could have gotten 10, but we got 5. You realize how hard it is to meet the needs with that amount of money. And then I think about the evolution in house design, home design that we're seeing now, where there are smaller and smaller homes and smaller apartments, and people are living very well in those. My wife and I and 2 kids lived in a 900-square-foot trailer for years, and so I know it can be done, and it can be a good life. And so one of my questions to the providers is are your dwellings becoming smaller and more efficiently designed compared to what they were 5 years ago? And, that can send an email or whatever on that issue, but I'm real curious to know the size of houses over the years and how the design has evolved, because clearly we have to get the most for the money, and we can get more money with smaller homes. I mean, there's somebody that's living under a bridge would be happy with a 200-square-foot house, right? Somebody who's living in their uncle's garage would be happy with a 600-square-foot house.
Do either of you all want to come up and answer that? Come to the podium? Yeah, if you'd like to.
As I mentioned, empowerment style is different, is unique. We are purchasing older homes, so they're already small. We're talking about 600, 700 square feet. 900 is a big house for us. The best we can do is when we renovate them, provide them with Energy Star appliances and things like that. But we've got families living in just very small homes, and that's why our homes, unfortunately, will cost as much as the newer homes, because we're buying homes that already exist. That's what we do, but that's how we allow people to move in instantly.
Maybe to ask a real specific question, what's the size of the apartments in the projected Waterstone senior homes?
I think we actually provided you with the floor plans and elevations for all those units. There are 3 different types of units. One is a studio, which I think is just under 700 square feet or 650 square feet, and then there's a 1-bedroom unit and then a 1-bedroom unit with a niche. They're all under 750 square feet each, which is considerably smaller than what we normally do. Normally our 3-bedroom house is around 1,100 square feet.
Okay, yeah.
So we designed them
Sounds like
specifically for seniors. It's potentially going to be 1 to 2 people. There aren't going to be children living there, so it's a very different design for us. And they are all attached as well.
Thanks.
I'll just chime in. At our Merritt Mill development, our 1-bedrooms, I think we're planning to be about that 650 square feet. Our 2-bedrooms, more like 900. We try to, we don't build elaborately large units. We're looking to be as cost effective as possible, not just in terms of square footage, but in terms of limiting certain amenities. We like standard refrigerators without ice makers, things like that, so that we don't have extra maintenance calls for items like that. But I know in Chapel Hill, for example, they have some minimum sizing that's, you have to achieve for the apartment type. And the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, which is a big funder, also has minimum, floor square footage requirements you have to meet.
Commissioner Price?
Yes, I have 2 concerns that I want to express, and all due respect to the folks that did the scoring. I'm concerned about, 1, spreading the wealth around with the monies that we've gotten for this bond, and for the majority of the money to go to 2 very good organizations. I would like to see us to try to give Empowerment the money that they requested. Also, in addition to, as I said, spreading the wealth around, but they're also working with existing housing stock. And that's one of the things that I've always been concerned about, is maintaining what we already have. And helping to build up the neighborhood, revitalize the neighborhood with existing housing stock. And the fact that they can get people in much sooner, which means getting people off the street, out of the woods, out of the cars, or wherever they may be living, much sooner, and just the population that they work with. So I'm wondering if we could consider just, as much as I hate to take away from the other 2 organizations, but just take away enough to provide for the acquisition of the 2 units on 606 Bynum. It would still leave, for example, CASA with over $1 million, and Habitat with most of what they requested. And then for staff to help with wherever the deficit was that made them ineligible, to bring them up to par so that they can continue, to go forth with this, before the next round of funding from the bond.
Other comments? Go ahead, Commissioner Jacobs.
I have a question. On the empowerments, there's no matching funding from the municipalities, is that right?
That's correct. On neither project was there any matching funding. They were asking for 100% from the county.
And maybe Ms. Bailey can address the possibility or the failure to achieve.
So the bond
matching.
came pretty quickly. Remember how you guys decided when to have it done and do it quickly? So these 2 projects that we had were things that were on our list to do, and maybe, so we submitted them because we knew they were ready and we could get them now. The bond money, again, let me say, the bond money for us, because it's rental, when we get bond money, that's how we can address the lowest need. So we did not prepare to leverage it. And that might have just been a misunderstanding for us. But the monies that's already, so 116 Cole is in Pine Knoll, and that it does not cover, there's no money for, like, the Northside money is not available for that. The Northside Initiative money for the Bynum Street properties, it's the same kind of thing. We would have had to wait for home funding to start up that cycle again, or the CDBG cycle again, because when the Northside Initiative purchases those homes, then we eventually have to figure out where we're going to get the money from. And so we'd be back in front of you all asking for money, either CDBG or home funds. And so since the bond came up, the houses were available, we knew our inventory is gone. That's the main thing. We don't have any more. I don't care who it's for, we don't have any. And it's immediate now, so that's why we submitted without that.
So is there any opportunity to approach the municipalities to see if they will contribute? I understand that there was a short time frame, but have you tried, or were you planning to try?
I do not know if it is, and certainly we can go back and look at it. Again, let me just stress that we don't have anything right now to put people in. And so we're doing the most efficient and immediate thing that we can do. I do not know, and I can't speak for either of the municipalities, and the only thing I can think of is that there might be Northside money, the initiative money, but again, what we do with that is either go and get a loan to buy it back from self-help, or we wait for CDBG or home funds, which are not expected to happen. But I'm willing to take any suggestions you've got about that.
I'm sure Ms. Moore has suggestions.
Well, can I just respond?
Yes.
You know, the people that were going to be in these homes may not necessarily be in Chapel Hill. They're Orange County residents or people. And I wouldn't, you know, I would hope that we could provide the funding even if Chapel Hill doesn't do it, because we're still looking at Orange County citizens or residents. And to wait for CDBG, which, you know, the funding level at, you know, nationally is 3.3 million, and it could go down, it could be eliminated. Like I said, we're working on it, but with the current administration in DC, who knows? So to try to push this off may risk the whole project.
So I would just say, you know, I think, I agree with Commissioner Price. I mean, it's kind of interesting. One thing I think we ought to do when this is done is go back and look at our matrix and really evaluate if it did what we hoped it would do, if it met the priorities that we had originally set out. So, I mean, it's curious to me, and again, this is, I as the commissioners, take the responsibility for having designed that matrix. But it's curious to me that a project that has two houses would score, and comes in at a comparable cost to one that has one, would score lower. It's not that much lower, certainly, but that seems like a factor that would weigh in. So one thing I think we ought to commit to doing is really evaluating when this is done. I mean, I think I'm particularly encouraged that, you know, there's more rental housing. I mean, the Habitat project is still a home ownership model, but it does reach one of the special populations that we've highlighted. So that's encouraging. But I do think, you know, that there are a lot of things, you know, thinking about some of the points Commissioner Price made and that Ms. Bailey made, you know, that while this project doesn't have funds from the municipalities, it is also, empowerment also plays a role in some of our other critical initiatives like the Family Success Alliance. So on the one hand, there's not leveraged funds from other entities, but there are leveraged synergies to be realized because they're working in one of our FSA zones, and And so there are advantages that maybe weren't captured in the matrix by these projects potentially. So I really think one thing we ought to do is look at that when we make this decision, because we're going to have a second round. And so I think we ought to look at that. I would be in favor of trying to fund this other project, and whether it's by moving money around in the 2.5, or, you know, we have $1 million we put in the CIP last year. But certainly these are rental projects targeting lower wealth residents, you know, in zones where we're trying to maximize our resources. So I don't know what the right way to do it. I'm not really particularly wed to one way or the other, but I would certainly be interested in doing that. And I also just want to add as a comment, and I know Commissioner Jacobs, you're waiting, but I do want to say I'm less concerned that who is here with these proposals. I mean, I think we want to try to encourage innovative and different projects, but we also made a commitment to get this money out as quickly as we could. We knew, you know, I really applaud the work, this board's commitment and our staff's commitment, Annette's commitment. You know, it's 7 months, 8 months since the vote, and we're making decisions to get that money out. And that is, as some of the folks who spoke pointed out, the need is great. And, you know, I think that's a positive rather than a negative. I would echo Commissioner Markopoulos' point, and I know the question Commissioner McKee has said, when we start looking at the number of units, that's frustrating. I wish we had a $10 million bond, but I also think we need to understand, and we need to help the community understand that we made a commitment to try to provide housing for the hardest to house members of our community, and that's going to cost more at any time, but it's going to cost even more now, because for a long time, all the good efforts we've made on affordable housing has not been targeted to that community. So we have an even bigger deficit when you're talking about people at 30% of area median income or 50% of area median income. So I think there's a lot to be proud of with this, and I think there are some continued tweaking where we can make this even better. Commissioner Jacobs?
Well, first, I like your suggestion of taking the money that we had some of the money we set aside in the CIP, and if we decide to fund the last empowerment project, we do it that way, not that we take money from the other projects. I wanted to talk a little bit about the matrix, and I don't think anybody knew exactly what we wanted, so I don't think we were provided adequate information. But even now, and I appreciate that we got these breakdowns and the narratives, but it's hard to know what the scoring was. We have total cost of project, the request, and what we're spending, and we have no idea where the rest of the money's coming from. It looks to me like the municipalities are providing about $800,000 to these three of the projects, and the rest is coming from us and other sources unidentified. I would just like to understand better where all the money's coming from, we have a percent that Orange County is providing, but I'd just like to understand how we're doing this. And then I'd like to hear from the people who actually did the scoring, what they thought of the matrix and what the handicaps were of the matrix. I'd like to see the actual scores, not the totals, the scores in each category for each project, so I can understand where they were strongest and where they were weakest. I'd like to understand how we can do a better job, if we think we should, of leveraging other people's money, because I think that's one of the goals here. Our money is going to be gone in the blink of an eye unless we do a better job of leveraging other funds. And then I just want to put another plug, and I'd like to hear from the providers what they thought of the matrix and what the strengths and weaknesses were of the way in which we scored, so that we can learn from their experiences too. And then I'd just like to again point out, all of these units are in municipalities. We're doing nothing to address any housing concerns for people of low and lower income outside of the municipalities. I hope when we get a new housing director, or if Ms. Moore is it, we actually apply ourselves to doing something about manufactured housing communities, instead of continuing saying, I hope we talk about it, because there are places in non-urban Orange County where there is infrastructure, and we could do some affordable housing, and it doesn't seem that any of the providers that we have are prepared to do that. So part of what we need to figure out is who's going to do that. Habitat does some in Efland, I know, so they may be the exception. And empowerment, and Ms. Bailey says they do too. So maybe we need to, as you mentioned, if we're not only looking for a community of the lowest income people, but if we also are looking for a community that is not served at all, we should try and incentivize people to address those needs. And I think probably in the fall, we should take some time to look at all this and see how successful we think we were and what we can do better.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I think we should plan for that. We should plan both a commissioner debrief and with the staff, and then also have the providers be part of that, to really assess and analyze both the strengths and limitations of what we've had, and based on that, how we address what was not achieved, or what was not achieved as efficiently or effectively as we'd hoped. I think that's a great idea. Commissioner Rich?
What's the time frame on the next $2.5 million, and who are we trying to reach with that second round?
The next round is 18-19 will be the next draw. So we would be going out in the 18-19 fiscal year for RFPs. And who will we be, that will depend on whether you change the criteria. This was based on the criteria, and in most cases, and I wasn't one of the scorers, but we did have a high weighting for leveraging other money, and that's why the ones that leveraged money ended up getting a higher score, because that was part of the weighting. And so as you look at that criteria and as you make changes to that, that determines who will be the next ones, or even where they will be can be through the criteria.
Commissioner McKee?
I basically see this round, what we're doing tonight, as a starting point. And I agree that it's going to take a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of Monday morning quarterbacking as we move along to get it right. Not that I think it's wrong now. I have a little bit of a concern, but I am going to support however the board wants to take care of 606 Bynum, because I see that as an immediate solution for a couple of people. I see that as building or rebuilding a neighborhood, supporting a neighborhood, and if for nothing else, it is addressing a need for those who need it the most. Now, where I have some extreme concern is, in my mind, I want the greatest leverage for the dollars. I want the most people served that we can serve. I totally agree with Ms. Bailey about these 2 units immediately available. Might get somebody out from under a bridge, might keep somebody from ending up under a bridge. So I totally agree with that. But somehow, if possible, I'd like to see some leveraging from the towns. The towns are benefiting with this program as much as the county is. And so they're benefiting greatly from this infusion of county money. So I'd like to see them bring some money to the table. Any money that can be leveraged from private enterprise, any money that can be leveraged from other associations or groups in the county would help the scoring of these individual units, because individual units cannot compete against multifamily units on a per cost basis, a per unit cost. You know, these other units are running somewhere between $46,000 and $54,000 each. The 606 Bynum is running over 100, but there's no way to address that issue because it's a single family home. Going forward, I would like to see some way to leverage that, maybe working with the county. Maybe the county could assist in approaching the towns, and maybe working out some mutually agreeable solution for the towns to encapsulate in their budgeting some money to help the county do this. So I don't have a particular avenue that I'd prefer to find this money to purchase this 606 Bynum properties. I actually would prefer not to take it out of the awards for the others because they are addressing, and my count was wrong a while ago, but they are addressing 24, 12, and 16 units. So I wouldn't want to do that. I think we've got some money set aside to actually, that we could, if we need to, we could do a budget amendment to shift it around if we need to.
Commissioner Burrows?
So, I think this is an excellent start, actually. I think, and particularly with the speed, which people have talked about, which just got executed, those applications got written, that was very tight timeline, and so I feel like we've are really getting off to a very good start. Clearly, lots more to do. I love the idea of getting the key stakeholders involved, probably fairly soon while it's fresh, and saying, what could we have done better? You know, what was difficult about that application? All those kinds of things. So I'm very happy that should happen. And I do think we should fund 606 Bynum, and I agree that we shouldn't take it out of the other proposal, or the other awards, and I think that money we've set aside, we should be using it, so let's use it for this. This is a perfect place to put it, so that's what I got.
All right, well, so I think we have discussed this thoroughly, and I just one comment on Commissioner Rich's point about that question about the next bond. Remember that, you know, there are other things happening before that next bond, other affordable housing things. We've got those county parcels that we identified for potential development. We're supposed to be getting proposals back on those fairly soon, at least the first round. So that'll be an opportunity to really, again, look at this and evaluate how well we've done. We do have this money set aside. I think, to Commissioner Jacobs' point on the manufactured housing money we set aside, I think, you know, in the interim between these projects getting funded and the next ones, the next bond cycle, that should probably be one of the top priorities, I think, for our affordable housing work, since, you know, we've already made the funding commitment. So, Comrade Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just add two things. Just to credit the staff, we did go to the towns regarding the other empowerment request. We've already approached the towns. We were unsuccessful. However, we have been looking for ways, and I think really if you're willing to go forward and use some of that other money, I think for now that's probably the best approach, but we will continue to work with the towns and we'll continue as we go forward. And then on the other issue in regards to the mobile home strategy, we have been working on that with providers. They have played a really big role in this, and we will have something probably, and I've been working with staff on this, we'll probably have something that we will send you as a draft over the summer so that when we come back in the fall, we can start talking about a mobile home strategy. That hasn't been forgotten. We have continued to work on that. And so, as the chair said, there are other things that are going to come up as well. But we will continue to work with the towns, and also to credit the two providers that did rank at the top, that we did approach them and asked for, they did agree to that when we told them we really couldn't give them 100% of what they were requesting. And they agreed that they could do without a little less so that we could at least get one of the empowerment homes fully. So we have been working on this to try to make this work, but we knew that we didn't have 200 and some thousand just sitting around. We really needed you all to make that decision. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner McKee.
Madam Manager, I appreciate that comment. I didn't mean to imply that the county wasn't
Right.
talking with the towns.
Right. But I
Maybe,
just wanted to make sure you knew.
maybe personally, I'll make a point of having some friendly conversations with our town boards and see if I can't encourage them to be more amenable.
All right, so, yes, Commissioner Markopoulos.
Real quick, speaking of town boards, is it true that Hillsborough does not have an affordable housing fund? Or do they? It's true that they do not. So it's worth talking to them as well, I would think.
Susan has your
Do they,
answer.
do they,
That's what they're giving us, some payment, sorry. They're getting payment in lieu money from one of the developments, I forget, Forest Ridge, I think, and that money that's coming in is what they're contributing towards our Waterstone project.
Well,
But they
that's
don't
good.
have a fund that they themselves fund.
That's a start.
that'll be on the agenda for the next, it's not going to be a meeting, it's going to be a section in a regular meeting that we have, because we're not going to have as many meetings, but. So there seems to be a consensus emerging to, but it will be on the agenda. There seems to be a consensus emerging to approve the three project, is it three? It's the three projects recommended, I guess it's four projects recommended by the board, and then also to fund the Bynum Street project from brought forward by Empowerment from the affordable housing money set up in the CIP. Would someone like to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and doubly seconded,
Oh.
because we're so enthusiastic about affordable housing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those,
No, wait.
we're not supposed to approve that? Yes, okay. Yeah, we'll
Authorize.
make another motion in just a second. So all those in favor say aye. That motion passes unanimously. Now, we're going to make, someone's going to make a motion, A, to authorize the manager to approve whatever is necessary to effectuate the action we just took, and that we are going to we're going to put on an agenda, a debrief evaluation session of this process when we reconvene in the fall.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. I'll let the second mover have the second on that one. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That also passes unanimously. Thank you all, and, forward together. Not one step back, that's right. All right. That was exciting. All right, item 6C. More excitement, actually. A request to name the Emergency Service Building as the Philip Nick Waters Center. The board will discuss naming the Emergency Services Building at 510 Meadowlands Drive in Hillsborough, the Philip Nick Waters Center. And manager Bonnie Hammersley will make the presentation. And then we have some folks here who might want to speak to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This evening, for your consideration, is the request to name the Emergency Services Building the Philip Nick Waters Center. Philip Nick Waters was the director of the Orange County Emergency Services Department from 1988 to 2004. Mr. Waters passed away after a short battle with cancer on April 21st, 2004. In your agenda packet, you saw a letter that was received from the current Emergency Services Director, Dinah Jeffries, and she requested the Board of Orange County Commissioners name the Emergency Services Building at 510 Meadowlands Drive in Hillsborough as the Philip Nick Waters Center because of his many contributions to emergency services in Orange County. And there, in the agenda packet, there is on the abstract a number of contributions included, and I'll quickly read over them. In 1993, Philip Nick Waters led the opening of the new 911 center located at 1914 New Hope Church Road with all new and state-of-the-art equipment. In 1998, Philip Nick Waters spoke in favor of certification for 911 telecommunications under the umbrella of the Sheriff's Commission, and the commission voted to make certification mandatory for all sheriff-controlled 911 centers. Philip Nick Waters saw the need and hired the first Orange County Fire Marshal and first Emergency Management Coordinator. Philip Nick Waters led Orange County through multiple disasters, and with each disaster, Mr. Waters saw an opportunity to teach and better prepare for the next one. Mr. Waters prepared the emergency services staff to be present and prepared to help residents and colleagues. Philip Nick Waters was a mentor to teach each of the emergency services employees and constantly encouraged going outside of the comfort zone. Mr. Waters taught the employees, the community, and many of government partners how to effectively react and respond to a crisis. Mr. Waters was recognized by many in the community for his dedication to leading emergency responders in Orange County. Mr. Waters encouraged staff to do their best with the gifts and resources available and to always share their knowledge. In memory and appreciation of Philip Nick Waters' efforts, the proposal to name the Emergency Services Building at 510 Meadowlands as the Philip Nick Waters Center is presented to the Board of Orange County Commissioners for consideration. The recommendation tonight is to receive the request and information for consideration regarding naming the Emergency Services Building to the Philip Nick Waters Center, and as outlined in the board's attached policy. And the policy is attached, and it's 2.6 requires upon receipt of the report and the recommendations of the manager, the BOCC will state its intent to consider the adoption of a resolution for the naming or renaming of the public facility or land at the next or some subsequent meeting as determined by the BOCC. And that
Thank you.
concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Chief Jeffries, do you want to say a few words?
I'll be very brief. First, I'd like to thank the county manager for supporting us on this. And I'd also like to thank Commissioner Jacobs for pushing me to reignite this. He was a great leader, and he taught us many, many things that I hope we're continuing to carry forward. I think he would look at us and say he's proud. I think he would be fussing about us wanting to do this. He was one who always said, "It's not about you." And he never liked to put himself out front. It was always about our partners and about the residents of Orange County. So I thank you very much for considering this.
Thank you. Are there comments? Commissioner Jacobs.
I appreciate Ms. Jeffries sending the letter and speaking up, and the manager for following through. In all the time I've been in public service, I have rarely seen someone who is so venerated by the people who work with and for them. And I would add that one of the things that's not listed that Mr. Waters did was we, as a Board of Commissioners and citizens, residents, were concerned about was the evacuation in the case of an event at the Sharon Harris Nuclear Power Plant. And the Orange County Commissioners asked the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in the state of North Carolina to improve the evacuation plans. They basically have no evacuation plans. They don't even have a let's make the interstate all one way going away from Sharon Harris. It's just they expect parents to wait for their children to be delivered from school. I mean, it's a ridiculous know-nothing attitude. And we held some hearings, and Mr. Waters was the only emergency services director in the state of North Carolina who would speak up. And we were very appreciative that our emergency services director cared enough about going against the standard thinking to actually step up and say, here's what we need to do. And of course, it still hasn't been resolved, and the way that our federal government is going, we're going in the opposite direction as far as protecting the public. But it was still an important role that Orange County Emergency Services played thanks to his leadership.
Commissioner McKee?
I did not personally have the honor to know Mr. Walters. I did know of him as being a member of the Caldwell Fire Department, but speaking as a representative of this board to the Orange County Fire Chiefs Association, I can say that I've heard some pretty good remarks and some pretty respectful remarks of the way he developed and moved that whole department forward.
All right, other comments? All right, then we are asked, pursuant to our policy, if we don't want to move forward, we are asked to state our intent to consider the adoption of a resolution to name the facility at 510 Meadowlands, the Philip Nick Waters Building, and then that will be brought forward. That will actually be brought forward for a vote at a subsequent meeting determined by the BOCC. So is there a motion that it's this board's intent to adopt a resolution to name the public building in 510 Meadowlands for Philip Nick Waters?
So moved.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? The motion passes 7-0. So that will come back to us, for actual adoption of that resolution.
We'll work on it.
Pursuant to our policy. Thank you. Thank you, Comrade Manager and Chief Jeffries. All right, next up on the agenda, item 7, reports, none. Which brings us to item 8, the consent agenda. Are there any items that anybody wants to remove from the consent agenda? All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion has been made by Commissioner Burrows and seconded by Commissioner Rich. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? That passes 7-0. Just to note some good things on that consent agenda. Funding assistance for the Eno River Association Clean Water Management Trust Fund, for the Botanical Gardens Foundation, updating the Animal Services Advisory Board policies and procedures, and the interlocal agreement with OWASA on the Rogers Road sewer. So good things happening even on the consent agenda. All right, item 9 is the county manager's report.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. It was worth waiting for, wasn't it?
She's out of here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This evening, I just will remind you all, and you went over it earlier, there is some budget work sessions coming up, June 8th. This Thursday, the budget work session will be with the fire districts, and then the functional leadership teams, general government, support services, and public safety. On June 13th, the budget work session will be functional leadership teams, human services, and community services. And then we will go over the capital investment plan prioritization that we had a discussion on, answering all the questions that came up that evening, and also making some recommendations on the amendments. And then on June 15th is the final budget work session where we present the resolution of intent to adopt after you have reviewed all of your budget amendments. And on that note, you have a bright green sheet of paper in front of you. This is the first draft of the budget amendments, and at every meeting from now until June 20th, I will bring a new one with any changes that you all have. Some of these I have received by email, some of these I have heard at meetings, some we've had a discussion about, so if you all would just review the ones that I've put under your names and make sure that they're correct. And between now and June 15th, if you want to send me by email, call me, just let me know any amendments you have for the operating budget. I do not have the amendments for the CIP because I made some recommendations, but I need you all to give me whether you support those recommendations. And we'll have that opportunity to talk about it on June 13th.
So that concludes my report this evening. Thank you.
So just one quick follow-up on the CIP recommendations. Do you want us to email you those like this, or do you want us just to wait till we have that full CIP?
If you know of some, you can just send them to me. If
Okay.
you know what you want to do between now and then, that's fine. We're going to bring more information on some of those questions. We're going to bring all the information, all the questions you have, but if you have any that you know of now, go ahead and send it to us, and then we can bring those up as we talk about the CIP.
Okay. County Attorney's Report. Mr. Roberts.
A couple of legislative issues. Sometime yesterday afternoon or last night, House Bill 406, which targets Orange County's impact fee authority, moved from the Senate Rules Committee to the Senate Finance Committee, and that's not been calendared yet, but I anticipate that'll be within the next week or so. Senate Finance meets, if not weekly, every 2 weeks. So that is moving and is going to be heard at some point. Senate Bill 615 is something I mentioned to the board yesterday. That was amended yesterday. It is the 2017 Farm Act. And one of the provisions of that is something that has generated a lot of concern in Orange County in the last couple of years. And that provision is a clarification and is labeled a clarification of the law related to agritourism. And it's specifically where the current law may imply that facilities that host events are exempt if they're conducted on a farm. This specifically states that any building that's located on a farm and meets that criteria, that it's on a statutory farm, is exempt from local regulation if it hosts events, weddings, meals. It's very broad language, and there is currently litigation in Orange County about that. So that's something that if people in the community are opposed to this type of activity, that's a bill that they may need to contact the legislature about, because the Board of County Commissioners has limited authority in that area. That's all I have for tonight.
That bill already passed the House?
No, it's not a crossover susceptible bill, so it was just amended because I believe it's considered a finance bill, and those don't have a crossover deadline.
All right, thank you. Next up are appointments. We have several this evening. First up, and we have, just to flag for your attention, we have someone who wants to speak on one of these, on item D. So first up, we have the Affordable Housing Advisory Board appointments. Item 11A. There are 7 slots for consideration. Commissioner Jacobs?
I have a question.
All right.
Did we just appoint Mr. Cook to a board at the last time we?
This would be if he was chosen, if he's an applicant, and if he was chosen, that'd be his 2, that would be his max.
What did we appoint him to last time?
Aging?
Thank you.
All right. So what say you, comrades?
Well, so we can go home tonight. I will nominate for position 1, Keith Cook, 5, Mae McClendon, 8, Allison Mahaley, 10, Douglas, I can't pronounce his last name.
Just do your best.
Bumker, 11, Noah Oswald, 14, Jen Sykes, and 15, Kane Twyman.
All right. Motion has been made to fill slots 1, 5, 8, 10, 11, 14, and 15. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other nominations? All right, then. Motion's been made and seconded for Keith Cook, Mae McClendon, Allison Mahaley, Douglas Bunker, Noah Oswald, Jen Sykes, and Kane Twyman. All those in favor?
Could I have a question?
Go ahead.
Donna, how many boards can a resident be on?
2 and 1 task force.
2 major boards, advisory boards, and they can do task forces.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion passes 7-0. Next is the Agricultural Preservation Board.
Mr. Chair, did you say you had somebody to speak?
Not
that
to
item?
this item, no, to D. I'm sorry.
Then I would nominate for position number 2, Mr. Vaughn Compton, position number 3, Ms. Cecilia Redding, and position number 9, Stephen Finley.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded for positions 2, 3, 9. Are there any other nominations or discussion or questions? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, that passes 7-0. 11C is the Carborough Board of Adjustment appointment.
Mr. Chair, I'll nominate Will Heflin for position number 2.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. Any other nominations or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the nomination, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion passes 7-0. Next up is item 11D, which is appointment to the Carborough Board of Adjustment. And we have Randy Herman is here and would like to,
It's the Orange County Board of Adjustment.
oh, I'm sorry, Orange County Board of Adjustment. I was looking at the wrong thing. Orange County Board of Adjustment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board, and I'm going to talk really quickly because I also would like to go home. But my name is Randy Herman. I'm an attorney practicing in the areas of real estate development and affordable housing with the Banks Law Firm in Durham, and I live here in Hillsborough. And I've put my name forward for the alternate member position of the Board of Adjustment. Zoning and land use is part of my practice area. I've argued variances before the Raleigh Board of Adjustment and some other boards in Wake County when I practiced in Wake County. And that's really all I have to say. One change to make on my resume that you have in your packet. I've been appointed by this board as an alternate member of the Board of Equalization and Review. So that would be an addition I would make on there, but everything else is still accurate. And I thank you for your consideration and time.
Well, thank you for staying here so long. I think you've earned that slot without a doubt. Commissioner McKee.
I would nominate Mr. Barry Katz for position number 2 and Mr. Herman for position number 4.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other nominations? Commissioner Rich?
I would nominate for position number 4, Holly Safi.
No,
All right.
second that, if that's appropriate.
Yeah, that's appropriate. Okay, so we'll take these then one at a time. You know, there's another at-large, oh, that's a planning board position, yeah.
Been vacant, they have not filled it.
It's been vacant since 2013. Why don't,
Fill it with the-
would you accept a friendly amendment to your motion to put your person in position 7?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. I'm okay with that then.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Okay, so now the motion is Dr. Katz for number 2, Mr. Herman for number 4, and Ms. Safi for position 7. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That passes unanimously. Congratulations, welcome.
And Mr.
We'll let you know about the hazing.
And Mr. Chair, if I might, I really appreciate, Mr. Herman, for you to come forward and show the interest and actually show the resilience to sit here for 3.25 hours. So thank you. It'll come in handy during those meetings. Some of them go till midnight.
You could delete that message on your cell phone from me then. Thank you.
All right, the next item, 11E, is the Orange County Housing Authority appointments.
I will nominate Diane Beecham and Daniel Bullock.
Second.
Served with, and they did well.
All right, so there's been a motion made and seconded for Diane Beecham for position 4, Daniel Bullock for position 5. Any discussion? Other nominations? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? That passes 7-0. You know, one thing it would be, I think would be useful on, just on this, there's a resident member position that's been vacant for a long time.
It's been vacant since December.
Well, we had several residents of, we had some residents and we had some representatives from organizations that work with and represent residents of public housing and affordable housing.
Can reach out to
So
them.
Ms. Bailey, the folks, Ms. Matthews from the Community Empowerment Fund, I think we should reach out to them.
And we'll be more than happy to do that. We do have some feelers out there already, and some of the Housing Authority current members, but we will reach out ourselves. And
Well,
send
given
we'll
their
send the
interest, this is the second time they've come and spoken.
Yep.
I think it's worth pursuing, so.
These people that are listed in here, don't they qualify for that? Reverend Suber?
They're not according to their bylaws, they're not residents that actually live there.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought actually they did. because-
Well, that actually is like, a client that
Right,
lives
yeah,
there.
because we had one for a while. It was hard to find.
Yeah.
But we had one for a while, yeah. Okay.
All right, the next item, 11F, is the Orange County Parks and Rec appointments.
Can we be reminded what's different in the green?
Yeah, because we left out the bios of the 4 recommended people.
I'm sorry, say it again?
We left out the bios of the 4 recommended
Oh, okay.
individuals from the Parks and Recreation
I
Council.
see.
When they merged the documents, they didn't merge
Thank
that
you.
portion.
I nominate Ms. Cotter for position 4, Ms. Luvis for position 7, Mr. Robinson for 8, and Ms. Raymond for 11.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other nominations or discussion?
Dave Stansel's here if you have any questions. He's in the back.
How are you? All right, motion has been made and seconded for Ms. Cotter, Luvis, Robinson, Mr. Robinson, and Ms. Ryman. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion passes 7-0. And now we come to the final, which is the OWASA appointment 11G. Commissioner Rich.
Mr. Chair, I would like to nominate Mr. Ray DuBose for that position.
Second that.
And I'd like to nominate Daria Barazande.
Is there a second for Ms. Barzande? Okay, that motion dies for a lack of second. Any other nominations? All right, all those in favor of Ray DuBose, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes 7-0. All right. That brings us to the conclusion of the meeting. Now, we have an option to go into a very short closed session to finish our evaluation of the attorney and the clerk, or we can refer that to Thursday night's meeting, whatever is the pleasure of the board.
If it's going to be short, I just assume to defer it to Thursday.
I won't be here Thursday.
Oh, okay.
I'm okay either way, but
No,
I will
mean,
not be here
I withdraw
Thursday.
that. If any member's not going to be here, I would withdraw that.
All right, so then, since Commissioner Markopoulos isn't going to be here Thursday, I need a motion then to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial appointment or of an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to go into closed session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, we are going to go into closed session.